Chapter 454. Xiao Pingon picked up Meng Ziqi's two-handed sword and examined it. This two-handed sword was pretty good. It could cut through iron as if it were mud. It had the effects of sharpness, armor-piercing, freezing, and toughness. Among summoner artifacts, it was one of the best. Brother Meng's artifact is pretty good. It could be refined into a soul artifact. Then I'm relieved. Meng Ziqi put away the artifact and looked at Xiao Pingon. He pondered for a moment and then looked at Xiao Pingon expectantly. Brother Long, please don't blame me for being impatient. I want to ask when you can refine a soul artifact for me. I can do it now, Xiao Pingon said directly. Don't. Meng Ziqi waved his hand and refused. Brother Long, please don't misunderstand. I'm not that impatient. I know Brother Long just came back from the Hall of Soul Armaments, so you must be tired and exhausted. You've been busy crafting soul armaments, so I can't possibly add fuel to the fire and not let you rest. Brother Long, you've already given me face by agreeing to craft soul armaments for me, so how can I not know what's good for me? Brother Long, how about this? Why don't you rest at home while I stay in the Star River Manor in Undying City for the next 2 days? Once you've recovered, you can come find me at the Star River Manor and help me craft soul armaments. How does that sound? How about that? All right, I'll rest and recover. Thank you for your understanding, Brother Meng. Xiao Pingon went with the flow and smiled. It would be strange if he was in a hurry to refine a soul artifact for Meng Ziqi. It was reasonable to say that he had used up a lot of energy these past few days. Alas, if only Brother Renju were here. The three of us would be able to reunite here. Unfortunately, after that experience in the land of the fallen gods, I'm afraid. In the god-slaying insect realm, without strength, even a summoner in the reflection realm or the nether passage realm is as fragile as paper. They can only become other people's chess pieces. Meng Ziqi shook his head and sighed. Then he poured wine for himself and Xiao Pingon and raised his cup. This cup of wine is to celebrate our return from the land of the fallen gods. Brother Renju is indeed a pity. I didn't expect you to be trapped in the land of the fallen gods. Xiao Pingon shook his head and sighed. He clinked his cup with Meng Ziqi and drank. This second cup of wine is for Brother Long. Brother Long's character is really admirable. If Brother Long didn't calmly hand over the divine artifact fragment to Senior Mingi after obtaining it, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to regain my freedom. So, this cup of wine is for Brother Long. Meng Ziqi's attitude was sincere. His words made people feel comfortable. You flatter me. I don't have the divine artifact fragment with me. I may not be able to keep it. So, it's best to hand it over to Senior Mingi. It saved me a lot of trouble. Ha! Brother Long is really free and easy. After all, Brother Long is blessed by the heavens. With the ability of a soul master, it'll be easy for you to advance to the form transformation stage in the future. How can it be so easy? The Wanshan sect doesn't raise idle people. I don't know how busy I'll be in the future. I can only say that I hope so. By the way, how did Brother Meng get the ability to refine soul artifacts? After I leave the god-slaying insect world, I'll try my luck. Maybe I'll be like Brother Long and have another ability to make a living in the future. Speaking of how I got the ability to refine soul artifacts, it's a long story. Xiao Pingon made up a story about how he entered a certain void secret realm and got the inheritance on a certain day. Meng Ziqi's eyes lit up and he was amazed. The two chatted and talked nonsense while eating and drinking. Unknowingly, an hour passed. The two of them seemed to have enjoyed themselves to the fullest. Meng Ziqi then politely said goodbye. Xiao Pingon sent Meng Ziqi to the door. Brother Long, please stop. I'll be waiting for Brother Long at the Star River Manor for a few days. Meng Ziqi turned his head and said to Xiao Pingon with a smile when he walked out of the door. Okay, let me rest for a day. I'll come to the Star River Manor to visit Brother Meng in 2 days. Xiao Pingon stood at the door and watched Meng Ziqi walk out of the alley. Only then did he turn around and return to the courtyard. Xiao Pingon returned to the courtyard and pointed at Meng Ziqi. Child Fortune, who had been playing with the glowing fish in the courtyard, flashed and chased after Meng Ziqi. Perhaps it was because his soul power had increased too rapidly this time, but Xiaoping's perception had unknowingly advanced again. He could suddenly perceive and experience many hidden details that were usually difficult to detect. Meng Ziki was normal this time. Meng Ziki was gentle and courteous. He was considerate like an old friend. However, Xiaoping felt that something was wrong. When he was chatting with Meng Ziki just now, he was actually on guard, especially when Meng Ziki was talking about Renju. Although Meng Ziki's expression and tone were somewhat sad, as if he was reminiscing about an old friend, Xiaoping felt that Meng Ziki didn't have the slightest bit of sadness in his heart. Everything was like an exquisite performance. And when Meng Ziki asked him about the soul refining method and the divine tool fragment, he acted very upright. At most, he was envious. However, Xiaoping felt that Meng Ziki's heart was filled with jealousy and unwillingness. Xiaoping returned to the pavilion again. He drank wine and ate dried fruits. However, his mind had already followed Meng Ziki and left together with Child Fortune. Meng Ziki was completely unaware that Child Fortune was following him. After leaving Xiaoping's courtyard, Meng Ziki directly flew towards the southwest direction of the Immortal City. In a short while, he arrived at the Star River Manor. The Star River Manor was a high-end hotel in the Immortal City. The Star River Manor was built in a huge natural underground cave in the Immortal City. There was an underground waterfall in the cave. There were independent courtyards everywhere. All the courtyards were protected by formations. There were also summoned guards patrolling the area. It was very quiet and secluded. Summoners who could stay here were all rich summoners. Meng Ziki arrived at the Star River Manor and directly entered a courtyard. He was the only one living in the courtyard. After returning to the courtyard, Meng Ziki didn't contact anyone. He took out a book and read it in his room. He looked as if he was patiently waiting for Xiaoping to come. He was like this for 2 to 3 hours. He just quietly read the book. This made Xiaoping somewhat bewildered. Could it be that he was paranoid? Seeing that he didn't find anything, Xiaoping let Child Fortune keep an eye on Meng Ziki while he returned to the underground secret room. A clone on Earth couldn't be made in 2 or 3 days. It might take a long time to find a suitable clone. Moreover, the process couldn't be interrupted. He would soon refine a soul tool for Meng Ziki. There wasn't much time left. Xiaoping simply fused the realm bead in the secret room. Xiaoping wasn't sure about the realm bead that could summon Wang Zhaojun. He planned to put aside for now. Xiaoping was naturally very clear about Wang Zhaojun's experience. However, Xiaoping still couldn't figure out how to fuse with the realm bead for the time being. Could it be that he had to become Wang Zhaojun in the realm bead? That would be too ridiculous. Xiaoping really couldn't accept it. He felt that this realm bead that could summon 4 beauties shouldn't allow a male summoner who wanted to summon beauties to play the role of beauties. He must have used some other method to fuse with it and play another role. Moreover, even if he became Wang Zhaojun, so what? It was too awkward. Because he wasn't sure, Xiaoping put this realm bead aside for now. Fortunately, Xiaoping still had 3 other realm beads that he could fuse with first. The first realm bead that Xiaoping took out was the realm bead that could summon death soldiers. There were 2 small words on this realm bead, Tian Heng. Tian Heng embodied another spirit of the Chinese nobles. The story of Tian Heng and his 500 death soldiers was bloody and unyielding. Tian Heng's last words before his death: "Righteousness covers the heavens, trustworthiness covers the earth. Life's legacy is only fit for the ears." It was really heart-wrenching. After his suicide, his 500 death soldiers all followed him and committed suicide, which was even more famous and inspired countless heroes. When Xiaoping was studying in school, he had personally gone to Tian Heng Island to pay his respects to Tian Heng and his 500 righteous soldiers during the holidays. Unfortunately, Tian Heng's tomb, which was originally located at the foot of Shouyang Mountain, was an important cultural relic, but it was later flattened and turned into a power plant. It was really a pity. After dripping a drop of blood on it, Xiaoping was soon wrapped in a layer of bloody light cocoon. Xiaoping opened his eyes. In front of him was the sound of waves and the sea breeze blowing. It was a reef beach facing the sea. The scenery here was inexplicably familiar. It was Tian Hung Island. A hoarse voice sounded behind him. "General, the envoy of the King of Han is here." Chapter 455. Early in the morning of the second day, Xia Pingan arrived at the Star River Manor in high spirits. The entrance to the Star River Manor was at the entrance of the underground cavern. The entrance was magnificent. After entering the cavern, one could see a purple waterfall dyed by amethyst lights flowing down from the top of the cavern and converging into the underground river of the cavern. Small courtyards were scattered all over the cave. This place could be considered as one of the places with the most unique scenery in the Undying City. After Xia Pingan stated his purpose for coming, an armored bodyguard was summoned and personally led Xia Pingan to the courtyard where Meng Ziki lived. He helped Xia Pingan knock on the door. Meng Ziki spent the entire day yesterday in his courtyard reading, resting, and meditating. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Less than half a minute later, the door to the courtyard opened. Meng Ziki's face appeared from behind the door. When he saw Xia Pingan, he was pleasantly surprised. "Brother Long, it's you. You came so quickly." "Haha, I rested for a day yesterday. I feel much better today." For a soul master, resting for 1 or 2 days is about the same as resting for 8 to 10 days. "Please come in, please come in." Meng Ziki hurriedly led Xia Pingan into the courtyard. Today, Xia Pingan's role was completely reversed from Meng Ziki's role yesterday. The courtyard of the Star River Manor was also protected by a formation plate and a formation. The courtyard was hazy as if there was a fog. It would be very troublesome for a normal summoner to barge in. The formation plate in this courtyard is a 5-element smoke lock formation. It can't be compared to the formation plate in Brother Long's courtyard. It can barely trap people and warn them. If they encounter an expert, it can be destroyed in a matter of minutes. Meng Ziki and Xia Pingan politely chatted as they passed through the courtyard. Soon after, Meng Ziki brought Xia Pingan through the courtyard and directly into the living room. Meng Ziki waved his hand and summoned a few beautiful maids. They began to brew tea for the two of them. Brother Meng really knows how to enjoy life. Compared to Brother Meng, my hospitality yesterday was really shabby. Meng Ziki laughed heartily. We summoners are sometimes too bored. Although the maids, zither players, and chefs can't participate in the battle, they make our lives comfortable and satisfying. With Zhang Yuqi around, Brother Long should find a chance to fuse with a few of these realm pearls. Brother Long will find these realm pearls very interesting. All right, has Brother Long fused with that beauty realm pearl? That beauty's realm pearl hasn't been fused yet. I'll make some preparations so that it won't be wasted if the fusion fails in a hurry. After drinking a pot of tea and chatting for a while, Xia Pingan got straight to the point. Brother Meng, it's about time. Let's go to the secret room and begin crafting soul armaments. Crafting soul armaments will take at least a day or 2. All right, since Brother Long is ready, then I won't refuse. Brother Long, please. Meng Ziki stood up and made a gesture of invitation. He directly led Xia Pingan into the secret room and sat down cross-legged on a cushion. Crafting soul armaments requires dividing the soul. This process requires Brother Meng to focus on cooperating with me. The process of dividing the soul may be a bit tiring for Brother Meng, but before the soul armaments are completely refined, I ask Brother Meng to persevere. You can't give up halfway, and you can't disturb me. Xia Pingan sternly explained to Meng Ziki what Meng Ziki needed to pay attention to during the process of crafting soul armaments. Meng Ziki listened and nodded with a serious expression, indicating that he was willing to cooperate. All right, Brother Meng can take out that long sword now. Meng Ziki was very obedient. After Xia Pingan finished speaking, he took out the magic long sword from yesterday and placed it flat on his knees. Brother Meng, first concentrate on your forehead. Before you divide the soul, I want to check the strength of Brother Meng's soul and see if it can be divided. As Xia Pingan spoke, he followed the procedure and took out the top-quality soul anchoring pearl. Holding it in his hand, he slowly placed it between Meng Ziki's eyebrows. As soon as the soul anchoring pearl was taken out, the entire secret room was bathed in a blue halo of light. It was solemn and sacred, and the ritual of crafting soul armaments was immediately felt. Seeing this soul-anchoring pearl, Meng Ziki's lowered eyes flashed with greed and amazement. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile, but it disappeared in a flash. However, he concealed it very well. On the surface, he still looked as if he was earnestly listening to Xia Pingan's instructions. The blue brilliance of the soul-anchoring pearl dyed Meng Ziki's slightly lowered face a deep blue color, and it suddenly became unpredictable. Xia Pingan slightly narrowed his eyes as he looked at Meng Ziki with a serious expression. Under the blue light of the soul-anchoring pearl, Xia Pingan stretched out a finger and gently placed it between Meng Ziki's eyebrows. As soon as Xia Pingan raised his finger, a wisp of golden light flashed between Meng Ziki's eyebrows. As if it had been pulled out by Xia Pingan, it wrapped around Meng Ziki's finger. Meng Ziki also felt that his mind was floating for a moment, as if his entire body was floating in the sky. It was very strange. "Brother Long, how is it? My soul should be enough, right?" Meng Ziki asked. "Brother Meng's soul is very strong. You can divide your soul to refine a soul armament." Xia Pingan said, "That's great. Brother Meng, pay attention. We will officially begin now. Brother Meng, please calm your mind and don't move. Listen to my instructions. I will begin dividing your soul." "Okay," Xia Pingan said. With a wave of his hand, the top-quality soul-anchoring pearl floated above the two's heads. Xia Pingan made a complicated set of hand seals, and the soul-anchoring pearl's brilliance covered the two. The long sword on Meng Ziki's knee slowly floated up under the brilliance of the soul-anchoring pearl and floated between the two. To craft a soul armament, I'll need a bit of Brother Meng's eyebrow blood. Xia Pingan pointed a finger at Meng Ziki's forehead and extracted a thumb-sized amount of blood from it. It floated in the air and glowed with a red light. "Brother Meng, touch the sword with both hands and use your divine power to surround the sword." Xia Pingan continued to order. Meng Ziki did as he was told. Under the infusion of his divine power, the long sword suddenly emitted a brilliant brilliance. "Brother Meng, calm your mind and don't move rashly. I will begin dividing your soul and combining your blood," Xia Pingan said. His hands changed into complicated hand seals, and he used his right index finger to point at Xia Pingan's forehead. There was a wandering golden light between Meng Ziki's eyebrows. It was like a golden thread that was pulled out of a ball of silk and began to wrap around Xia Pingan's finger. This process seemed to be very tiring for Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan was so focused that his forehead was covered with sweat, but he was completely unaware. After a full half an hour, the golden threads wrapped around Xia Pingan's finger had turned into a ball of golden light. Hands, feet, and a head stretched out of the golden light and gradually turned into Meng Ziki's appearance. During this process, Meng Ziki was very cooperative, but at the same time, he opened his eyes wide and carefully observed Xia Pingan's every move and step. Occasionally, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Divine blood as one, casting the soul and condensing the method, becoming one with the weapon, using the soul to nurture the weapon. Xia Pingan shouted. Finally, the ball of golden light in his hand merged with the ball of blood floating in the air. The ball of blood suddenly bloomed with an even more dazzling golden light. Xia Pingan made a series of complicated hand seals. The shining ball of blood fell on the long sword, and the long sword suddenly seemed to come alive. Dragon scales appeared on the body of the sword, and the long sword began to transform into a dragon, bringing a chill to the entire secret room. Brother Meng, pay attention. Conceal your spirit and qi. Open your divine power and prepare to accept the soul weapon. It will take one more day, and I will lend you a hand. As Xia Pingan spoke, he struck out a series of hand seals. A snow-white cocoon of light gradually enveloped Meng Ziki and the soul weapon longsword. Xia Pingan's eyes were closed as he focused all of his attention on helping Meng Ziki condense his soul armament. From time to time, he would place his hand seals into the soul anchoring pearls and the cocoon of light above their heads. Under Xia Pingan's control, the cocoon of light would constantly change into various colors and become exceptionally beautiful. After finishing all this, Xia Pingan seemed to be very tired. He sat cross-legged outside Meng Ziqi's light cocoon and concentrated on the soul anchoring pearl. The soul anchoring pearl constantly shone blue light on the two. The entire secret room suddenly fell into absolute silence. Half a day later, at the most critical moment of condensing the soul weapon, without any warning, a hand suddenly reached out from Meng Ziqi's light cocoon. The hand was holding a pitch-black dagger. In the blink of an eye, there was almost no resistance. Xia Pingan didn't have time to react. The dagger directly pierced into Xia Pingan's heart, all the way to the hilt. Xia Pingan suddenly opened his eyes. A mouthful of black blood spurted out from Xia Pingan's mouth, eyes, ears, and nostrils. Xia Pingan screamed and looked at the hand that reached out from the light cocoon in shock. The divine power in his body instantly collapsed, and the soul anchoring pearl fell from the sky. Meng Ziqi, Xia Pingan screamed miserably. Before he could finish his sentence, he spat out another mouthful of black blood. It was incomparably mournful. Almost at the same time, the hand holding the dagger caught the soul anchoring pearl, and then the other hand, with a ball of electric light, fiercely struck out from the light cocoon again and slammed into Xia Pingan's chest. With a cracking sound, Xia Pingan's sternum and the bones of his upper body were directly shattered. The curling electric light also burned a small part of Xia Pingan's body. Xia Pingan's whole body was not intact in a second. Xia Pingan, who was originally sitting cross-legged, flashed with electric light and flames. He was directly sent flying by the palm, heavily hitting the alloy wall of the secret room, creating a dent in the wall. For a moment, the entire secret room was filled with dancing flames and electric light, and it was abnormally cold. The light cocoon refining the soul weapon finally broke. Meng Ziqi slowly stood up with a devilish smile on his face. He looked down at Xia Pingan with a condescending sneer. He held the best quality soul anchoring pearl in one hand and put away the soul weapon sword. Chapter 456. Meng Ziqi fixed his eyes on that top-quality, soul-stabilizing pearl in his hand as he gently played with it and clicked his tongue. Such a top-quality, soul-stabilizing pearl is really rare. You should be able to exchange it for many rare realm beads. I was told that this top-quality, soul-stabilizing pearl was given to you by that old B***starred Mingy. TSK. Although that old B***starred has a weird temper and is cruel to others, he treats you very well. How enviable, Meng Ziqi. You despicable bastard. Xia Pingan was lying on the ground as he spat out black blood. His skin and face were covered with black veins that looked like tree roots. The black veins were spreading across his body at a terrifying speed. Wherever the black veins went, Xia Pingan's body would begin to wither and petrify. It was a terrifying sight, but Xia Pingan was still struggling to get up. Don't struggle. That dagger is also a soul armament. I've also smeared soul eroding poison on it. As long as it touches blood, you won't be able to use your divine power, and your body will gradually petrify. Back in the land of the fallen gods, Renju died, just like you. Your struggle is just too laughable. Meng Ziqi shook his head. Renju? Was it you who killed her? That assassin who ambushed me and impersonated a female disciple of the Black Dragon sect. Was it also you who arranged for that? Xia Pingan, who had fallen to the ground, struggled for a long time before he could barely prop up his upper body. He leaned his upper body against the wall of the secret room and stared at Meng Ziqi as he spat out blood. Not bad. Looks like you're not that stupid after all. You were just too lucky back in the land of the fallen gods. I schemed against you twice, and you managed to escape both times. Meng Ziqi chuckled. But you didn't expect that you would die by my hands in the end. Although this soul armament sword isn't finished yet, I don't need you anymore. I'll just have to slowly nurture it for a while. At this point, Meng Ziki shook his head and looked regretfully at Xia Pingon on the ground. He slowly walked over and raised his hand. A scorching fireball was gradually condensing in front of him. The temperature in the secret room suddenly rose. He pointed his hand at Xia Pingon. The fireball that was close at hand was absolutely fatal to a summoner who had lost the ability to move. It could instantly turn someone into ashes. The fireball was like a muzzle pointed at someone's head. To be honest, I'm a little reluctant to kill a soul cultivator like this. Why? Why? I have no enmity with you. I even thought of you as a friend. Xia Pingon screamed in despair. His agitation caused his skin to crack and fall apart, revealing the bones beneath. It was a terrifying sight. Meng Ziki's eyes moved and a cold smile appeared on his face. Since you're about to die, I don't mind telling you. The Tianhua eccentric you speak of is actually my father. I went to that old bastard Mingyi's side for a meticulous plan. Who would have thought that this plan would be ruined by you? You even let that old bastard Mingyi obtain the god armament fragment. Tell me, don't you deserve to die? So that's how it is. Don't think about stalling for time and waiting for a miracle. Be on your way. Meng Ziki waved his hand, and a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. The scorching fireball fell cleanly. Under Xia Pingon's unwilling gaze, the fireball landed on Xia Pingon's body and instantly turned Xia Pingon into ashes. At the same time, Xia Pingon's space warehouse also exploded. Gold coins gushed out of the secret room like a fountain. The 7-star sword whip's soul tool and the beauty's realm pearl that could summon Wang Zhaojun also exploded. Many other things also exploded and almost filled the entire secret room. Brother Long, you're quite rich. It's a pity that these things will belong to Meng in the future. Meng Ziki rubbed his hands and waved them. In the blink of an eye, all the things in the secret chamber were put away. Then he summoned a stream of water to wash the secret chamber and froze it into ice cubes. Then he put away the ice cubes. In an instant, the secret chamber was clean. Even Xia Pingon's ashes were not left. It was as if it was new. Then Meng Ziki took out a mask and put it on his head. In the blink of an eye, the mask turned into Xia Pingon's appearance. He took off his clothes and took out a set of white magician robes from the 10,000 Gods sect. The white magician robes had golden patterns on the cuffs, which were exactly the same as Xia Pingon's. Meng Ziki put on the white magician robes and turned into Xia Pingon in the blink of an eye. Then, Meng Ziki waved his hand and summoned a dragon-slaying assassin. The figure of the dragon-slaying assassin twisted and turned into Meng Ziki's appearance. Meng Ziki looked at the assassin and then looked at himself. He laughed heartily and walked out of the secret room. Then he asked the assassin to send Meng Ziki, who had turned into Xia Pingon, to the door of the small courtyard. Brother Meng, you can stop here. Please stay. The next time you come to the Immortal City, let's find time to drink again. Meng Ziki said at the door of the small courtyard. His voice had turned into Xia Pingon's. He was bidding farewell to the assassin he had summoned. He was so warm and friendly that others would think that he was bidding farewell to a good friend. Okay, the next time I come to the Immortal City, I'll drink with Brother Long again. Meng Ziki's dragon-slaying assassin waved his hand and summoned a guard of the Star River Manor. He asked the guard to send Meng Ziki, who had turned into a dragon, out of the Star River Manor. As soon as Meng Ziki left the Star River Manor, he didn't hesitate and directly soared into the sky and flew out of the Immortal City at lightning speed. Because the Star River Manor was near the Immortal City, it only took a few minutes for Meng Ziki to fly out of the Immortal City and arrive at the underground cave outside. After flying out of the Immortal City, Meng Ziki used a secret technique to hide his figure. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into a pitch-black underground crevice with complicated terrain outside the Immortal City. At the same time, the dragon-slaying assassin that Meng Ziki had summoned also left the Star River Manor and flew in another direction. After that assassin left the city, he circled around and returned to the underground crevice where Meng Ziki had disappeared. Moreover, it didn't take more than a few minutes for him to meet up with Meng Ziki in a hidden cave in the underground crevice. Meng Ziki recalled the dragon-slaying assassin that he had summoned, took off the mask on his face, and changed his clothes. Meng Ziki had returned, but Long Huan had disappeared. Meng Ziki continued to fly in the underground crevice. After a while, he arrived outside a hidden cave. He looked at the mark outside the cave. Before entering the cave, he gently clapped his hands 3 times and summoned a fluorescent sack to float in front of him. Then, he calmly entered the cave. The cave was filled with rugged rocks of strange shapes and was deeply hidden. After Meng Ziki entered the cave for 100 meters, a ghost-like figure emerged from the rocks. The figure that emerged from the cave was in his 50s. His sideburns were slightly white, and he had a deep aquiline nose. His eyes were sharp and cold, and he was wearing the red deacon robe of the Wanshan sect. This person was Deacon Ling. Seeing Deacon Ling, Meng Ziki revealed a smile. Deacon Ling also revealed a smile on his face. "Junior brother, how was it?" Deacon Ling asked directly. "Everything was as senior brother predicted. That Long Huan couldn't escape from me." Meng Ziki smiled proudly. His hand moved to take out Xia Pinggan's Big Dipper Sword Whip soul armament. Though he looked a little reluctant, he still handed the Big Dipper Sword Whip to Deacon Ling. The soul armament that Long Huan has is truly top-notch. I've seen so many soul armaments, but none of them can compare to this one. Senior brother, if you want to use this soul armament in the future, you must be careful not to be discovered. Don't worry, I have a way to make it so that no one will be able to recognize this soul armament. Deacon Ling licked his lips. His eyes flashed as he took the Big Dipper Sword Whip. He gently stroked the blade of the Big Dipper Sword Whip, and his eyes were full of admiration. This soul armament isn't something that an ordinary soul cultivator can create. Only a top-notch soul armament grandmaster or the soul armaments left behind by the Dream Spirit Church can compare to this soul armament. Right, junior brother? Did you find out the relationship between Long Huan and Chui Li? I've been chatting with Long Huan for a long time these past 2 days, but I didn't find out that Long Huan knew Chui Li. When Long Huan died, he was in his original appearance and not someone else in disguise. Why is senior brother so insistent on this point? It's nothing. Perhaps I'm overthinking things. Summoners who can enter the god-slaying insect world aren't ordinary people. Deacon Ling said shrewdly. He shook his head slightly. When Chui Li was wanted by me, he also had a top-notch soul armament. This Long Huan also has one. It's as if Chui Li has disappeared these past few days. But now that Chui Li has disappeared, Long Huan appears. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? It's suspicious. Senior brother, you've been too cautious these past few years in the 10,000 Gods sect. Perhaps, with my identity, I have no choice but to be cautious. Deacon Ling said with a smile. By the way, what instructions does Master have for me this time? My father said that you've worked hard all these years in the 10,000 Gods sect. That soul armament just now is a reward for you. Father has already prepared the energy-shaping realm Divine Spring. As long as you advance to the energy-shaping realm, you can bathe in the Divine Spring at any time. At the same time, in the Yuanxiu world, Father has already helped Senior Brother's family take complete control of the Yeli country. Senior Brother's father has already ascended to the throne. Deacon Ling said with a serious face. Rest assured, Master, I will not let you down. The underground situation is currently unstable. The Immortal City is showing signs of instability. At the same time, the situation on the 10,000 Gods planet seems to be getting more and more tense. The entire 10,000 Gods planet is showing signs of spatial fusion. The higher-ups of the 10,000 Gods sect are already very anxious. Under such circumstances, the ethereal opening realm Divine Spring controlled by the 10,000 Gods sect under the Immortal Sea will be exposed sooner or later. Once I receive accurate information, I will inform Master. Also, the phenomenon of the Sage Master's birth has nothing to do with the 10,000 Gods sect. These days, the higher-ups of the 10,000 Gods sect have been secretly investigating, but there has been no progress. Understood. Senior brother, please be careful. Okay. Meng Ziki and Deacon Ling had a secret meeting in the cave. After a while, Meng Ziki left the cave the way he came from, while Deacon Ling disappeared in the form of a shadow. After leaving the cave, Meng Ziki did not stay underground for a moment longer. His body moved like lightning as he flew towards the surface of the immortal city. When he flew out of the underground exit of the immortal city, Meng Ziki was stunned. His expression changed drastically. Long Huan, who had been turned into ashes by him, was actually standing in the air above the underground entrance of the immortal city. His back was facing the blue sky, and he was smiling at him, as though he was waiting for him to come out. Impossible. Meng Ziki thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He rubbed his eyes with all his might and realized that his eyes were not playing tricks on him. The person standing in the air in front of him was indeed Long Huan. "Who are you? How dare you come here and pretend to be my friend?" Meng Ziki was stunned for a few seconds before he roared and took out his weapon. At the same time, his eyes scanned the surroundings to see if there was an ambush. It was very strange. Usually, at this time, the underground entrance of the immortal city would be crowded with people coming and going. Many figures could be seen flying in the sky. However, at this moment, there was no one in the surrounding sky. The sea was as clear as blue, and it was extremely clean. There was an inexplicable, strange aura. Xiao Pinggan sighed. "Brother Meng, old monster Tianhua, you are so calculative. I, Senior Mingi, and the 10,000 God sect have all been tricked by your family. Admirable, admirable." Chapter 457. Meng Ziki's mind was in a mess. He stared blankly at Xiao Pinggan. His mind was like a willow in the wind, drifting with the wind. Because of fear and shock, even his body couldn't help but tremble. Wasn't Long Huan dead? Why was he still standing in front of him? If this person was Long Huan, then who was the one he killed while crafting a soul armament for by Yunfei? More importantly, how did this Long Huan know so many secrets? Why? Was everything in front of him a hallucination? Was it a demon in his heart? All the confusion, fear, and shock in Meng Ziki's heart transformed into a murderous aura. Glaring at Xiao Pinggan with bloodshot eyes, Meng Ziki roared, "Stop spouting nonsense. Die." Taking out the soul armament sword Xiao Pinggan had crafted for him, Meng Ziki charged at Xiao Pinggan without hesitation and slashed down viciously. A mocking smile appeared on Xiao Pinggan's face at the sight of Meng Ziki going berserk. Stretching out his hand transformed into a giant golden palm to grab at Meng Ziki. Meng Ziki cried out in pain. Like an ant facing a giant, he was easily caught in Xiao Pinggan's hand. Meng Ziki screamed and opened his eyes. When he woke up, he realized that he was still in the secret chamber. Long Huan was sitting cross-legged across from him. Long Huan's finger was pressed against his forehead. His soul was like a golden thread that was pulled out by Long Huan and wrapped around his hand. Wasn't this the scene of Long Huan crafting a soul armament for him? Why was he back here? Could it be that everything just now was just a dream? Was he dreaming? Meng Ziki was shocked. Looking at Long Huan's face, he realized there was nothing wrong with Long Huan's expression. Only his eyes were unusually cold. So Brother Meng was waiting for me to be halfway through the crafting of the soul armament and kill me when I was unprepared. Then you would pretend that I had left the immortal city and become a missing member of the 10,000 God sect. No one would suspect you. Xiao Pinggan sighed softly and shook his head. I have always been loyal to the moon, but the moon shines in the ditch. Ever since the land of the fallen gods, Brother Meng has tried to kill me time and time again. It's so sad. Even if Brother Meng has a 9-son realm father, you can't be so reckless. Meng Ziki instinctively wanted to move and struggle. But when he struggled, he realized that he couldn't move. Xiao Pinggan's finger pressed between his eyebrows was like a mountain. He couldn't move. His divine soul was controlled by Xiao Pinggan at this moment. His consciousness was completely separated from his body. His body didn't listen to him at all. Meng Ziki's expression changed drastically, and he looked confused. He forced a smile at Xiao Pinggan and tried to explain himself. I just realized that I had a strange dream. Was that dream made by Brother Long? Brother Long, don't joke with me like this. It's just a dream. It's not real. The things in a dream are all delusions. If Brother Long doesn't want to craft a soul armament for me, then forget it. I'll leave the immortal city. Brother Ming, you have such a glib tongue. Do you think I'm a fool? What do you mean, Brother Long? Nothing. Whether that dream is real or not, I just need to go to the Hall of Duty and tell Deacon Ling that I'm old monster Tianhua's disciple. Naturally, someone will find out. Looking at the determined sneer on Xia Ping'an's face, Meng Ziki immediately put away his pitiful look and revealed a ferocious face. He roared, Long Huan, I admit that you have some ability. So what? My father knows that I came to the immortal city this time. If you dare to touch me, my father won't let you go. Oh, is that so? Xia Ping'an's eyes narrowed. Then I'll wait for your father to come find me. You killed me several times, but I only killed you once. What do you want to do? Meng Ziki was frightened. Do you want to know what a true soul refining technique is? Xia Ping'an suddenly smiled. Meng Ziki wanted to struggle, but a strange black flame suddenly appeared on Xia Ping'an's finger. Meng Ziki's soul power, which was wrapped around Xia Ping'an's hand, was immediately ignited by the flame on Xia Ping'an's finger. The ignited soul power emitted a rainbow-like light. Like a fuse, it instantly rushed to Meng Ziki's forehead and ignited the soul in his entire body. Soul cultivators who grasped the true soul refining method could kill people while crafting soul armaments, especially when they were using wind souls. If they wanted to kill someone, it would be as easy as a doctor holding a scalpel on an anesthetized patient whose chest had been cut open. As long as a person's soul was ignited, that person would instantly die and their body would become a complete husk. Meng Ziki's body suddenly stiffened. All the pores on his body, including his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, emitted a magnificent rainbow-colored light. Then, in a short 2 seconds, the light disappeared. Meng Ziki's eyes instantly lost all luster. He suddenly stopped moving and softly fell down. In an instant, there was no breath or heartbeat. He couldn't be more dead. His soul was completely burned, just like the death of a soul. Naturally, Meng Ziki couldn't live anymore. Then, the spatial equipment on his body suddenly exploded. Xia Ping'an grabbed his soul anchoring pearl and let out a long breath. He spread his legs and stood up. Meng Ziki didn't have a lot of things on him. Other than the gold coins on the ground, there were some pills and bottles and jars. There was also a box containing a realm pearl. The most eye-catching thing was the ferocious black dagger he used to plot against him. Xia Ping'an picked up the dagger and looked at it. The dagger was also a soul tool. It had powerful sharpness, armor-piercing, and paralyzing effects. That trash Meng Ziki even smeared poison on it. This thing was a fatal weapon for high-level summoners. He couldn't let it hurt him. Xia Ping'an then opened the box containing the realm pearl, only to see a light green realm pearl inside the box. There were only 2 words on the realm pearl, Medicine Union. Xia Ping'an didn't know what this meant. He guessed that this realm pearl wasn't easy to fuse with, so Meng Ziki carried it with him. If it was easy to fuse with, Meng Ziki would have already fused with it. There were some pills and some poisons in those bottles and jars. Just by looking at those poisons, he knew that Meng Ziki was definitely up to no good. Hey, what's this? Just as Xia Ping'an was about to put everything away, Xia Ping'an suddenly found a strange thing in the pile of gold coins. It was a bronze triangular token. In the middle of the token, there was a small word in Xiaozhuan. There were clouds around the word. As soon as Xia Ping'an held it in his hand, his palm slightly warmed. An image appeared in his mind. The image was surrounded by towering mountains that pierced the sky like sharp swords. Misty clouds drifted in the middle of those mountains. Xia Ping'an was slightly stunned. Then, the image in his mind disappeared. He put down the token and picked it up again. The image in his mind reappeared and disappeared in just 2 seconds. This strange token wasn't ordinary. However, Xia Ping'an didn't know what it was for. Therefore, he could only put it away. Then, Xia Ping'an's bones and face changed. Slowly, he turned into Meng Ziki. He took off his own clothes and put on Meng Ziki's clothes. Then he fixed his hair. In just a short while, Xiao Pingan had become another Meng Ziki. Cough, cough, senior brother. Senior brother. It's me, cough, cough. Everything is as senior brother expected. How could that long Huan escape from my grasp? Senior brother. Xiao Pingan touched his throat to test his voice. He adjusted his voice to be the same as Meng Ziki's, so that there was no difference at all. Only then did he put away Meng Ziki's corpse and turn to leave the secret room. The secret chamber was empty. There was no one else in it. After taking one last look at the secret chamber, Xiao Pingan turned around and left the secret chamber. He then left the Star River Manor alone. After a while, Xiao Pingan, who had turned into Meng Ziki, returned to his courtyard and put away the formation plate of the ice and fire sword formation. After taking one last look at the courtyard, he sighed and flew out of the city. An hour later, Xiao Pingan arrived at the cave in the depths of the underground crack where Meng Ziki and Deacon Ling had met. Before entering the cave, Xiao Pingan gently clapped his hands 3 times outside the cave and summoned a fluorescent capsule to float in front of him. Then, he calmly entered the cave. After entering the cave for 100 meters, Deacon Ling, who had white hair, a deep hooked nose and sharp eyes, finally walked out of the shadow of a pile of strange rocks and asked in a low voice, "Junior brother, did you succeed?" Chapter 458. Everything is as senior brother expected. How could that long one escape from me? Of course I succeeded. Xiao Pingan smiled proudly. His expression and actions were exactly the same as Meng Ziki's in the dream creation technique. As he spoke, Xiao Pingan's hand moved and took out his 7-star sword whip. He touched the 7-star sword whip a little reluctantly, but still passed it to Deacon Ling, seeing the 7-star sword whip. Deacon Ling's eyes lit up, and he grabbed it without hesitation. When Xiao Pingan handed the 7-star sword whip over, he held the hilt of the 7-star sword whip in one hand and the body of the 7-star sword whip in the other. Holding the sword with both hands, he passed the 7-star sword whip over horizontally. When Deacon Ling received the 7-star sword whip, he naturally held the blade with both hands. However, Xiao Pingan did not let go immediately. Instead, he held the 7-star sword whip while speaking to Deacon Ling with a serious face. Long Huan's 7-star sword whip is really something. Before I came to the Immortal City, my father personally told me that senior brother has worked hard in the Wan Shen sect all these years. This is a reward for you. Apart from that, my father has already prepared the energy shaping realm divine spring. As long as senior brother advances to the energy shaping realm, you can bathe in the divine spring at any time. At the same time, in the Yuanxiu world, my father has already helped senior brother's family take control of the Dark Ceremony country. Senior brother's father has already ascended the throne. As for the Immortal City, Master has asked senior brother to make the best use of the divine spring. Now that the situation in the Immortal City is tense, this is the best time. Deacon Ling looked at the 7 stars sword whip in front of him and listened to Xiao Pingan's words. He completely let down his guard and relaxed. The person in front of him was his junior brother, his master's son. The two of them had worked together to kill Long Huan. How could that be fake? Junior brother, please tell Master that I already have a rough idea of where the hidden location of the Nether Passage Realm God Spring is under the control of the 10,000 Gods sect in the Undying Sea. When the situation in the Undying Sea becomes more tense, I will further gain Manager Fu's trust, and I will definitely be closer to my target, Xiao Pingan smiled. That's good. Just as he finished speaking, Xiao Pingan's hand had already left the 7-star sword whip. Deacon Ling's greedy eyes were focused on the 7-star sword whip. He licked his lips and was about to take the 7-star sword whip when Xiao Pingan attacked without warning. A dazzling electric light appeared on Xiao Pingan's finger. Xiao Pingan had directly summoned the divine thunder. Deacon Ling held the 7-star sword whip with both hands. The 7-star sword whip was a conductor of electricity, so the moment Xiao Pingan summoned the divine thunder, it had already passed through the 7-star sword whip and struck Deacon Ling, who was completely defenseless and unable to dodge. He simply couldn't react. Deacon Ling's entire body was instantly surrounded by a dazzling electric light. The clothes on his upper body were reduced to ashes, and his entire body was instantly paralyzed by the divine thunder. At the same time, a black figure leapt out from Xia Pinggan's shadow like a ghost. It was the level 7 sinking star assassin. The moment he leapt out, the sinking star assassin stuck close to the ground and was as fast as lightning. The moment Deacon Ling's body stiffened, the sinking star assassin stabbed his dagger into Deacon Ling's chest. With a vicious twist, Deacon Ling violently spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time the assassin attacked, a sinister black dagger appeared in Xia Pinggan's hand. This was the dagger that Meng Ziki had extracted the poison from. Once the dagger was in his hand, Xia Pinggan directly slashed it across the 7-star sword whip's blade. With one slash, Deacon Ling's 2 palms were severed, causing the 2 bloody, severed palms to fall directly to the ground. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, Deacon Ling's body suffered 3 serious injuries. His hands were severed and he was poisoned. Time seemed to stop at this moment. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Deacon Ling's eyes were unfocused. They were incomparably complex, filled with confusion, shock, pain, and the anger of being betrayed. He stared fixedly at Xia Pinggan and couldn't help but let out a roar. Deacon Ling rapidly retreated after cutting off Deacon Ling's hands. Xia Pinggan saw the 7-star sword whip fall to the ground. He put away the dagger in his hand and grabbed the 7-star sword whip. His figure was like a shadow as he chased after Deacon Ling. Then he slashed his sword at Deacon Ling's neck while letting out a murderous kill. Boom! Deacon Ling shrieked like a ghost. His eyes suddenly turned blood red as he used the bloody bones of his 2 severed palms to clamp down on the 7-star sword whip's blade. Violent energy fluctuations erupted in the cave with a violent roar. Dozens of stalagmites in the cave were instantly shattered. Xia Pinggan hadn't expected Deacon Ling to be so valiant. When Deacon Ling used his 2 severed palms to clamp down on the 7-star sword whip, the root-like black poisonous gas on his hands had already rapidly spread toward his arms. Even so, the 7-star sword whip was still clamped down on by Deacon Ling's severed palms. Why? Deacon Ling roared at Xia Pinggan. His eyes were fixed on Xia Pinggan as blood spurted out of his mouth and nose. He had never imagined that his junior brother would want his life. The sinking star assassin closed in once again. A cold light flashed from the dagger in his hand as he stabbed Deacon Ling's throat as fast as lightning. Deacon Ling's arms suddenly burst into flames. His entire body suddenly burst into flames as strange purple flames raged on his body. A flaming human figure appeared on Deacon Ling's body. His poisoned arms turned into nothingness in the midst of the flames. The sinking star assassin had just closed in on him when he was forced back by a ring of flames that suddenly burst out from Deacon Ling's body. That ring of flames also successfully forced back Xia Pinggan's fatal blow. A blood-red door appeared behind Deacon Ling. Behind the door, one could faintly see a magnificent army with thousands of horses and banners, as many as a forest. A ferocious aura fiercely emerged from the door. At this time, Deacon Ling couldn't be allowed to summon the thing in the secret mandala. As his body was forced back by the flames, Xia Pinggan didn't even think before taking out the formation disc of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation and fiercely threw it on the ground. As soon as the formation disc hit the ground, a golden light flashed on the ground of the cave. That golden light faintly revealed the shape of a tortoise shell. Fog instantly appeared in the cave and trapped Deacon Ling. The huge black-bone dragon that had emerged from the summoning door behind him was stuck halfway. When a summoner was in a formation, the space of the formation was the summoner's space. If the summoner couldn't break the formation, then similarly, he couldn't summon a summoned creature that exceeded the space of the formation to destroy the formation. As soon as Xia Pinggan activated the formation disc of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword formation, the formation disc acted like a cork and directly blocked the summoning door of Deacon Ling's secret mandala. Deacon Ling's summoning spell was directly interrupted. In this way, no matter how many things were in the bottle, they couldn't be poured out. Deacon Ling, who had lost his arms, was burning with flames. The flames transformed into a human figure with a head, arms, and legs. The two of them merged into one and directly charged at Xiao Pingan like a madman, roaring, "Who the hell are you? I'll kill you!" Inside the formation, it was so close yet worlds apart. Xiao Pingan was clearly in front of Deacon Ling, but when Deacon Ling took a step forward, he lost sight of Xiao Pingan. It was as if he had crashed into a wall and was heavily bounced back. Not only that, but two golden swords suddenly shot out from the fog around him and slashed at him. The sinking star assassin closed in again like a ghost. With a wave of his hand, dozens of icicles and arrows shot toward Deacon Ling. Not only that, but Deacon Ling's legs were suddenly entangled by two vines that had sprouted from the ground, and his movements were immediately restricted. Deacon Ling roared like a mad lion. Xiao Pingan coldly watched the flaming human figure on Deacon Ling's body from inside the formation. He grabbed a golden sword from the formation and refined it into liquid gold, which then turned into a wisp of smoke and dissipated. He watched Deacon Ling shatter the icicles and arrows and send the sinking star assassin flying into the fog with a punch. Then, he concealed himself again. He watched as the flames on Deacon Ling's body burned the demonic vines he had summoned to ashes and dissipated into light. He watched as Deacon Ling used brute force to shatter a golden tortoise shell in the formation, causing the entire formation to rumble and tremble. He watched as Deacon Ling destroyed the Xuanwu he had summoned and completely melted the formation that had turned into a world of ice and snow. A seven-sun realm summoner was terrifyingly strong. Even though he had suffered so many fatal injuries, even though the gate of summoning had been sealed by the formation, and even though he had lost both his hands, Deacon Ling's combat strength was still frightening. However, Deacon Ling was still heavily injured. Only half a minute later, Xiao Pingan saw the root-like black qi start to climb a mountain. Deacon Ling's neck, face, and movement started to stagnate, and the skin on his body started to crack and fall off bit by bit. Although Deacon Ling had promptly decided to burn his arms, the poison on the dagger had already invaded his tendons and meridians. It was already too late. Deacon Ling's body started to crack, and even the gate of summoning that had already appeared started to crack. It swayed and blurred, and the rhythm of his movements started to become chaotic. His footsteps became heavier and heavier, and the flame figure on his body started to sway. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 more bloody wounds appeared on his body. The sinking star assassin flew over once again, and the flame figure on Deacon Ling's body, which had already shrunk to half its original size, caught the sinking star assassin. The sinking star assassin instantly turned into smoke, but the sinking star assassin's shadow flew up and took the fish intestine dagger from the assassin's hand, slashing down once again. A cold light flashed in the formation, and Deacon Ling's head finally flew off. Even at this time, his eyes were still wide open, filled with anger and unwillingness. A few sword lights flew out from the formation, and one of them slammed into Deacon Ling's flying head, directly shattering it. 2 more sword lights directly pierced through Deacon Ling's tottering body, opening up 2 fist-sized holes in his chest. Deacon Ling's body finally collapsed, and his spatial equipment exploded. The gold coins all over the ground surged up like an underground fountain in the array. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the limit of the array's space. Chapter 459. Xiao Pingan pointed at the void and put away his tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword formation. Whoosh, gold coins kept pouring out of the void, and in the blink of an eye, they formed a small mountain in front of Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan didn't care about the gold coins at this moment. Instead, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind that made his heart beat wildly. He had just killed a 7-sun realm expert. 7-sun realm? Yes, Deacon Ling was definitely one of the 7-sun realm experts. The red-robed deacon of the 10,000 gods sect was one of the best in the 7-sun realm, and he could look down on many summoners of the same level. If it was half a year ago, Xiao would only think of running for his life in the face of such an expert. He definitely wouldn't want to be his enemy, let alone fight or challenge him. However, at this moment, he relied on his own ability to kill Deacon Ling in this cave without any suspense. He had actually killed a 7-Sun Realm expert. Xiao felt like he was dreaming, and it was somewhat unreal. During the battle, just now, Xiao mind was tense, and his willpower was as strong as iron. Now that the battle was over, he suddenly realized what he had just done. Unknowingly, he had already accomplished a feat that he didn't even dare to think about in the past. After coming to the Yuanxiu world for so long, Xiao suddenly realized that he had been on the brink of death all this time. Under this immense pressure, and under the motivation of wanting to become a god, his strength had quietly grown to such a level, killing a 7-Sun Realm expert. The fountain of gold coins stopped, and a gold coin rolled to Xiao feet and hit his shoes. It spun a few times on the ground before stopping. Xiao immediately woke up and returned to reality. Gold coins, and more gold coins. It wasn't until the 5 to 6 million gold coins were all collected that Xiao found several bottles of divine power pills, several jars of water, a bit of meat jerky, and an ordinary soul armament amongst the remnants of Deacon Ling. For 7-Sun Realm Summoner, it could be said that he only had a few things on him. There were no other realm pearls or divine sense crystals. He didn't know if Deacon Ling had already fused with all the realm pearls he could, or if he just didn't have the habit of carrying too many things with him. The battle with Deacon Ling was very intense just now, and there were already auras from the collision of divine power. There were many patrols outside the immortal city, and if he continued to stay in the cave, he might bump into the patrols that would be attracted over. After putting everything away in the blink of an eye, Xiao didn't stay in a mountain cave any longer. Instead, he quickly left the mountain cave and flew to another hidden place 5 to 6 kilometers away from the mountain cave. After plucking a leaf from a nearby underground plant, Xiao activated the one-leaf vision skill and hid himself in the pitch-dark underground crack, completely integrating with the surroundings. Everything was as Xiao had expected. Less than 10 minutes after he left the cave, a group of Immortal City's patrols arrived. There were a total of 10 people in that patrol. The patrols held the magic tool heart lamp in their hands. That magic tool heart lamp was in these uninhabited underground crevices outside the Immortal City, so it was very sensitive to fluctuations of divine power. It could allow the patrols to discover any abnormalities in the pitch-black cave and crevice in time. If there were summoners fighting, the magic tool heart lamp would be able to sense it quickly. Under Xiao gaze, the patrols of Immortal City entered the cave where he and Deacon Run had just fought. After a short while, the patrols left the cave and searched the surroundings. They didn't find any abnormalities or zergs, so they left. It wasn't until an hour after the patrols left that no one appeared in this dark underground crevice that Xiao removed his invisibility spell and flew out of the underground crevice. I killed old freak Tianhua's son, so Long Huan can't continue to appear in Immortal City. If Long Huan is still alive, it's equivalent to telling old freak Tianhua that his son was killed by me. That's courting death. Old freak Tianhua, the 9 Suns realm, is sinister, vicious, and calculative. If he goes crazy, who in the entire Immortal City can stop him from finding a summoner of the 6 Suns realm to take his life? Xiao shook his head and smiled bitterly. He rubbed his face. Damn it, I've only played this avatar for a few days, and I have to change it again. The 2 times he was forced to change his avatar after joining the Wanxin sect were actually related to old freak Tianhua and Deacon Ling. It was as though it was fate. However, it was fortunate that Deacon Ling was finally killed by him. After muttering a few words, Xiao looked in the direction of Immortal City and disappeared in a flash. A few hours later, a summoner with short hair and a pale face like a vampire flew to Immortal City from afar. His eyes were more white than black, his face was cold, and his whole body was emitting a cold aura. He looked like he wasn't someone to be trifled with. This summoner came to the entrance of a mortal city. With a wave of his hand, a few hundred gold coins appeared beside him and floated in the air, attracting the attention of the surrounding summoners. Where is the one Shun Sek's immortal city? Also, where is the best in an immortal city? Whoever can answer me, these gold coins will be given to him. Some of the surrounding summoners were stunned. There were at least a few hundred gold coins. How could they be obtained so easily? Although the summoners who came to Immortal City didn't lack those few hundred gold coins, this money was too easy to earn. They could earn it just by saying a few words. This money could allow a person to live comfortably in Immortal City for a few days. No one would say no to money. Immediately, a summoner reacted and pointed in the direction of the Hall of Duty. He immediately said, "The Hall of Duty of the Wan Shun sect in Immortal City is in that direction. It's the tallest building over there. The best in an Immortal City is in Star River Manor. Star River Manor is in that direction." The indifferent summoner waved his hand, and the gold coins flew towards the summoner who answered. He didn't say anything and directly flew towards the Hall of Duty of the Immortal City. This person is so strange. Is he here to join the Wan Shin sect? It should be. In the past 2 days, the 10,000 Gods sect has given a lot of benefits to the newly joined Outer Sect disciples. The outstanding Outer Sect disciples may even get soul tools, which attracted a lot of new people to join. This person probably heard the news and came here. This guy must be very rich. Another summoner smacked his lips in admiration. And this summoner wearing leather armor with a cold expression was the avatar that Xia Pingon had just changed into. Xia Pingon chose to join the Wan Shun sect after careful consideration. He definitely didn't do it on the spur of the moment. Xia Pingon insisted that he would never relax. Even if he changed his disguise twice, he would still join for the third time. He would never change his plan and purpose because of external forces, even if there was the threat of old freak Tianhua. Therefore, he came again. In the history of the Wan Shin sect, it was probably the first time that they met a disciple as persistent as Xia Pingon. 10 minutes later, in the Hall of Duty of the Immortal City, Xia Pingon wrote down the name of his disguise on the form that he had filled in twice, Zhang Tai. At the sight of this name, Zhang Tai knew that it was the standard name of a passerby. If he shouted on the street, there might be a couple of Zhang Tai who turn around. One Zhang Tai was selling deep-fried dough sticks, while the other Zhang Tai was in a grocery store. Nothing strange would happen to him. As Xia Pingon filled in the form, he thought that the name Long Huan was too eye-catching. As it was his third time, he'd better keep a low profile. After pondering for quite a while, he finally remembered such a low-profile name. The Wan Shin sect was still the same as before. Anyone who wanted to join the Wan Shin sect would be welcomed. Besides Xia Pingon, he was definitely not the only one in the Hall of Duty who wanted to join the Wan Shin sect at this moment. Xia Pingon soon completed the procedures for joining the Wan Shin sect for the third time. After that, he walked out of the Hall of Duty and flew towards the Star River Manor. Soon, Xia Pingon checked in the Star River Manor. Coincidentally, his courtyard was less than 300 m away from Meng Ziki's courtyard. Chapter 460. The courtyard was the same as that of Meng Ziki's courtyard. However, when Xia Pingon entered the courtyard, he felt completely different than before. If you have any request in Milky Way Manor, you could ask the patrolling guards outside for help. If you have a friend, the guards of Milky Way Manor will escort your friend to your courtyard all the way. Outsiders are not allowed to wander around here. The key to your courtyard could activate and close the formation plate in the courtyard. Many guests here like tranquility and don't want to be disturbed or peeped at. Therefore, our management here is very strict. The battle puppets and pets of the summoners could only move in their own courtyards, instead of entering the public area of the manor. A maid said as she passed a key to Xia Pingon when she saw him off in the courtyard. After that, she gave a key to Xia Pingon. I see. I also like tranquility and don't want to be disturbed. Xia Pingon glanced over the courtyard with a poker face as he nodded distantly. Then, I wish you a pleasant stay. If you wish to continue your stay, then please pay the next month's accommodation fee before the payment is settled. If you don't pay, the manor may be handed over to the guest who made the reservation after the expiration date. The hotel maid left directly after saying these things in a formulaic manner. Not until all the maids left did Xia Pinggan summon the boy of blessing and the black dragon out of habit. After the boy of blessing and the black dragon checked the courtyard and found no problem, Xia Pinggan's tense face finally relaxed. So *king expensive. Xia Pinggan mumbled. If he didn't stay here, he wouldn't know, but once he did, he would be shocked. The cost of staying in the Star River Manor was paid once a month. The monthly cost of staying here was exactly 30,000 gold coins, which was the price of a suite in Shang Dynasty's capital, Shang Dynasty. Here, he could only stay for a month. If it were any other time, Xia Pinggan would not be so extravagant, but now that he had made 2 fortunes, he was a little numb to gold coins. In addition, he wanted to rebuild his character, so it did not matter. More importantly, it was indeed comfortable to live here. There was a formation in the courtyard, and there were guards patrolling outside. The management was strict, and ordinary people could not enter. It was a good opportunity to cultivate here quietly for a period of time, consolidate his strength, and complete the secret doppelganger technique. At this moment, the Wanshin sect did not have any requirements for the newly joined outer sect disciples. Of course, if you want to perform well, you can apply to join the patrol team of the Immortal City or go directly to the Abyss Fortress. Especially the Abyss Fortress, they are in urgent need of manpower. If you want to be a Lone Ranger and kill those Zergs, you could do that too. The Wanshin sect will not interfere. The requirement for the newly joined outer sect disciples to become official disciples were the same as before, which was 200 insect crystals of Reflection Realm and 1 insect crystal of Nether Passage Realm. However, for the excellent outer sect disciples, the Wanshin sect increased the rewards and commendations by offering various kinds of soul items and realm pearls. Especially the soul items rewarded by the Wanshin sect to the outer sect disciples. For many summoners, it was as attractive as commoners facing a grand prize of 10 million yuan. With such a huge reward, there would definitely be brave men. Although many people had left the Undying City these days, those who stayed were even purer. They were all bold and daring. There were also many summoners from the Undying Sea who came to the Undying City to make a fortune after hearing the news. Among those new outer sect disciples of the Wanshin sect, Xia Pinggan was not eye-catching at all. As for the immortal power emblem that was left on him when he became an official disciple of the Wanshin sect, he didn't need to worry about it either. That emblem was useful for summoners of Nine Sun Realm and could be left in the souls of summoners who joined the Wanshin sect. It was also useful for the former Xia Pinggan and Soul Masters. However, it was useless for the current Xia Pinggan. This was because the spiritual realm was the ancestor of manipulating soul secret methods. Manipulating soul secret methods in front of people from the spiritual realm was simply like showing off one's skills in front of Guan Yu. After grasping the doppelganger's secret method, Xia Pinggan could easily sense the divine force emblem in his soul. At this moment, Xia Pinggan could easily erase the divine force emblem from his body or make it reappear. If he completed the same ritual again, there would be no problem as no one would discover his secret. Standing in his courtyard, Xia Pinggan threw a glance at Meng Ziki's courtyard as he muttered, "It's impolite not to reciprocate. Ulfric Tianhua, you've given me 2 big gifts. It's my turn to return the favor." After saying this, Xia Pinggan waved his hand and summoned the Sinking Star Assassin once again. Moreover, he gave the key to Meng Ziki's courtyard to the Sinking Star Assassin. The Sinking Star Assassin holding the key suddenly disappeared like a shadow, completely concealed. After leaving Xia Pinggan's courtyard, the Sinking Star Assassin lurked at the gate of the courtyard for a short while. After a team of patrolling guards left, the Sinking Star Assassin arrived outside Xia Pinggan's courtyard in a flash. Taking the key, he lifted the formation of the courtyard and easily entered the courtyard. After arriving at the secret chamber, he took out the fish intestine dagger and wrote some words on the wall of the secret chamber in a flamboyant manner. Under the sharpness of the fish intestine dagger, the metal fragments on the metal wall of the secret chamber fell down. After a short while, a few lines of characters appeared in the secret chamber. Deacon Ling is old freak Tianhua's disciple. Deacon Ling's father has ascended the throne in Yeli country with the help of old freak Tianhua. Meng Ziki is old freak Tianhua's son. Old freak Tianhua covets the immortal spring of the 10,000 gods sect in the Undying Sea. He sent a disciple to infiltrate the 10,000 gods sect to find out the location of the immortal spring and seize it. Long Huan has been killed by Meng Ziki. After leaving these words in the secret chamber, the sinking star assassin secretly left Meng Ziki's courtyard and quietly returned to Xia Pinggan's courtyard to report. After putting away the sinking star assassin, Xia Pinggan finally let out a breath of resentment. Long Huan was a sole master of the 10,000 God sect and could be considered a top figure in the Undying City. Once Long Huan entered the Star River Manor for a long time and disappeared without any news, he would definitely attract the attention of the 10,000 God sect. And the Star River Manor knew that Long Huan had entered Meng Ziki's courtyard. It was public. Needless to say, someone who could open a Star River Manor in the Undying City must have a close relationship with the 10,000 God sect. Then, the next thing would be interesting. If the people of the 10,000 God sect entered Meng Ziki's courtyard to search and found that Long Huan had disappeared and the words he left in the secret chamber, how would the 10,000 God sect react? Even if true monarch Mingyi knew this news, he would probably understand a lot of things at once. It didn't matter who left the words. The important thing was that the contents of those words could be verified. Except for the last sentence, the rest were all true. Old freak Tianhua. Just wait for the revenge of the 10,000 gods sect. Xia Pinggan didn't believe that the Wanshan sect could swallow this resentment and tolerate old monster Tianhua's evil deeds. If the Wanshan sect didn't teach old monster Tianhua a profound lesson, then the Wanshan sect wouldn't be called Wanshan sect anymore. It would be called Wangui sect. After leaving those words, Xia Pinggan felt a little regretful. Long Huan's disguise couldn't be used. He might not be able to fulfill his promise to the Yundao Juko to refine a soul tool for the time being. He would have to see if there was a chance to make up for it in the future. Then, Xia Pinggan put away the black dragon and entered the secret chamber. He took out the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation disc again and started to refine it. This time, when he killed Deacon Ling, this disc played a huge role at the crucial moment. It allowed Xia Pinggan to experience the wonders of a formation. This formation really had a great ability, especially when the weak was fighting against the strong. In a sense, the formation was even more useful than a soul master. The tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation disc had been damaged before. Xia Pinggan took out the disc and repaired it, refining the damaged formation tool again. After using the formation plate to experience an actual battle that was beyond his level and spending a few hours to repair the formation plate of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword formation, Xia Pinggan gained a deeper understanding of the formation and the formation plate unknowingly. He threw the repaired tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation disc into the secret chamber and activated it to protect the secret chamber. After meditating in the secret chamber for a while, Xia Pinggan took out a pile of gold coins and started to refine a new disc. Chapter 461. Xia Pinggan was completely immersed in the refining of the array disc. Time flew by in the secret chamber for a whole 7 days. He didn't even pay attention to the rumbling of his stomach. He casually drank some water and threw 2 fasting pills into his mouth. After that, he didn't care about it anymore. During this time, he even failed twice when refining the array base. 7 days later, the secret chamber was filled with thick fog. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the fog, and from time to time, sharp sword light flashed through the fog, stirring it up and causing it to roil. As Xia Pinggan struck out the last seal, the 8 golden swords lightning, and fog that were flying in the air in the secret chamber instantly disappeared, and a golden array disc appeared in Xia Pingan's hand. Xia Pingan finally exhaled deeply. Looking at the arrayed disc in his hand, a smile appeared on his face. It's finally refined. The arrayed disc in Xia Pingan's hand was somewhat similar to the arrayed disc of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword array. It was just that there were now 6 golden turtles and 8 golden swords, which were respectively located in the 8 positions of the arrayed disc: Qian, Qinjin, Zhen, Sun, Li, Kuan, and Dui. There were also additional array patterns of fog and thunder and fire that only array masters could understand. Compared to the arrayed disc of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword array that Xia Pingan had refined, this array disc was more like an improved version of the previous one. It was more powerful, and its offensive and defensive capabilities were on a whole new level. This also meant that Xia Pingan's array skills had improved. If it had been this array disc that had trapped Deacon Ling, that battle would have been even easier. If the golden turtles were refined with Tai black gold, the defensive power of the array disc would be 30% stronger. If the 8 flying swords were refined with celestial cyan iron, orichalcum, fiery gold, and other materials that corresponded to the array positions of the 8 trigrams, the flying swords would also be more powerful. If the same array disc could be stacked into a chain array, one array disc could be placed on top of another, and the complete array disc could be refined into an array weapon. In this way, one array disc could be used to attack, defend, and trap. Adding in combat puppets, the array disc could be stacked infinitely. Looking at the array disc in his hand, Xia Pingan muttered to himself, his eyes flashing. He still had many ideas about this array disc, but due to the conditions, he could only do this for now. Arrays were profound, and there was still a long way to go in the future. This array disc could be continuously improved in the future and become the basic array disc for him to explore the Tao of arrays. If the previous tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigram sword array was version 1.0, then this array disc in front of me should be version 2.0. I'll use this array disc to conquer the world and slowly improve it in the future. At this moment, Xia Pingan once again discovered that his stomach was growling. It seemed like it had been 2 days since he had last eaten a fasting pill. This time, he had stayed in the secret chamber for 7 days, almost without sleep or rest. His brain was working at high speed, and his spirit was highly concentrated. It was only when the array disc in front of him was completed that Xia Pingan felt a trace of fatigue. He put away the array disc, walked directly out of the secret chamber, and went to the small courtyard outside. After stretching his body a little, Xia Pingan pushed open the courtyard door and walked out. After changing his avatar, it was as if he had changed his life. The troubles caused by his previous avatar seemed to have disappeared completely. Even his mood became relaxed. There was a restaurant in the Star River Manor, which was right above the waterfall in the cave. The guests who lived here could eat in the restaurant at any time. After leaving his courtyard, Xia Pingan immediately soared into the sky. After more than 10 seconds, he landed at the entrance of the Star River Manor's restaurant. The waterfall flowed down from the side of the restaurant. The environment of dining here was really good. The entire restaurant overlooked most of the courtyard in the cave. The restaurant was filled with summoned maidservants. Xia Pingan entered the restaurant. Half of the restaurant was a transparent food storage. There was a dazzling array of food inside. If you wanted to eat something, you could order on the spot and choose your own ingredients. The chef of the restaurant would prepare it for you on the spot. Everything would be done right under your eyes. After the food was prepared, it would be tested for poison, which would eliminate the possibility of being poisoned. Xia Pingan casually ordered some ingredients, and the 2 chefs of the restaurant began to prepare the food on the kitchen counter in front of Xia Pingan. If he could summon chefs, it would be very convenient in the future. However, he didn't know what kind of realm bead he would use to summon chefs. Thinking of chefs, the names of a few famous chefs in history immediately popped up in Xia Pingan's mind. Yin, Tai Gong, Shi Zhu, Fan Zheng, Lady Lu, an hour later, the ingredients selected by Xiao Pingon were finally made into dishes that were full of color, aroma, and taste. They were then served. Mapo tofu, dompa pork, boiled cabbage, a platter, and a bowl of sparkling and translucent rice. These simple dishes made Xiao Pingon's appetite whet. He felt that his taste buds had come back to life. Although the fasting pill could prevent hunger, eating that kind of food would make people lose the pleasure of enjoying delicious food. Of course, these dishes were called different names here, but they were cooked in exactly the same way. Halfway through the meal, Xiao Pingon felt that his HP bar was full again. Then, he saw a familiar face appear in the Star River Manor. Dressed in a red robe, Liang Tian was leading two white-robed disciples. Accompanied by a maidservant of the Star River Manor, they strode in from the entrance of the Star River Manor. They directly walked to the entrance of the courtyard where Meng Ziki lived. Seeing Liang Tian, Xiao Pingon thought to himself, "It's finally here." After Long Huan went missing for 7 days in the Immortal City, as Long Huan's commander and deacon, he finally realized that something was wrong and brought people to look for him. This reaction wasn't slow. Nobody reported the case because these few days were still Long Huan's holidays and free time. At least, it meant that Liang Tian was still doing his job. Even without Xiao Pingon's order, the child of fortune beside him had already flown to Liang Tian's side to eat melons at a close distance. Did Master Long Huan enter here? Liang Tian turned his head and asked the maidservant who brought him here. Yes. The maidservant nodded. Master Long Huan seems to be here to visit his friend. Who lives here? Meng Ziki, a summoner who came from the Immortal Sea. What about that Meng Ziki? He left the Star River Manor 7 days ago and hasn't returned yet. Hearing this, Liang Tian's expression turned grave. Did Master Long Huan come out of this courtyard these few days? No. The maidservant shook her head. It's normal for summoners who live here to not come out for several months. Open the door, I want to go in. I don't have this authority. This needs Supervisor Lu's personal approval. The maidservant shook her head and said, You can tell your Supervisor Lu that the one who brought people here to break the door is Liang Tian. Liang Tian didn't speak any more nonsense. His gaze turned cold as he waved his hand. A scorching fireball flew out from his hand and directly smashed onto the door. The door of the courtyard was instantly blasted into pieces and collapsed in an instant. The key to the courtyard had long been left inside. The protective array of the courtyard was actually closed. When the door was smashed, the array inside wasn't activated. The moment the door collapsed, Liang Tian entered the courtyard. After sweeping his gaze around, he went straight to the secret room. The moment he entered the secret room, Liang Tian saw the few lines of words left behind by Xiao Pingon. After seeing those words, Liang Tian's expression instantly changed. Without thinking, he took out a crystal secret talisman from his interspatial equipment and crushed it. Following which, Liang Tian retreated from the secret room and stood guard outside the courtyard. In less than 10 minutes, 7 to 8 red-robed attendants, over 100 white-robed disciples, as well as Supervisor Fu, who was wearing a blue robe, flew in from the entrance of the Star River Manor and landed in the surroundings of the small courtyard. Only the red-robed attendants and Supervisor Fu entered the small courtyard. The other white-robed disciples stood guard outside. Once Supervisor Fu arrived, Liang Tian immediately went forward and performed a mute enchantment. He moved closer to Supervisor Fu's ear and whispered something. Supervisor Fu's face was as black as ink. He waved his hand and asked the other red-robed attendants to wait in the courtyard. Then, he asked Liang Tian to bring him into the secret room. After entering the secret room and looking at the words on the wall, Supervisor Fu's expression changed, killing the sole master disciple of the 10,000 Gods sect, allowing his own disciple to infiltrate the 10,000 Gods sect, and even deliberately coveting the holy spring of the 10,000 Gods sect in the Undying Sea. If the words on the wall were true, old monster Tianhua deserved to die. Supervisor Fu, I feel that the disappearance of Attendant Ling these 2 days must be related to this. Liang Tian said, "I will report this matter directly to the Elder Hall." Supervisor Fu didn't say a word. He just waved his hand and directly peeled off the metal wall with words in the secret room. He put the metal wall into his interspatial equipment and left the secret room with a sullen face. The people from the Hall of Supervisors came and left quickly. Almost no one knew what had happened. Xiao Pingan, who saw everything, was in the dining room. He picked up the green and white boiled cabbage and ate it happily. This boiled cabbage, eaten together with dompa pork, was just right to relieve the grease. Chapter 462. After finishing his meal, Xiao Pingan patted his belly and returned to his courtyard in satisfaction. When he passed by Meng Ziki's courtyard, he glanced at it. The Star River Manor was moving quickly, and there was already a large group of summoned craftsmen rebuilding the courtyard gate that had been destroyed. After returning to his courtyard, Xiao Pingan threw down a yin and yang disorienting ice and fire sword array formation disc to protect his courtyard. After that, he went back to his bedroom and fell asleep. After sleeping for about 7 to 8 hours, Xiao Pingan woke up. His energy had returned to its peak. After returning to the secret room and setting up the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword array version 2.0, he summoned the sinking star assassin and Xuanwu to guard the secret room. Xiao Pingan then took out his Rel Pearl. Before completing the doppelganger secret technique, Xiao Pingan planned to fuse the 2 realm pearls in his hands first. In the end, summoners still relied on realm pearls and their strength to speak. The process of reaching the 7 Sun realm could only be done step by step. After fusing with Tian Heng's 500 soldier and the other 2 realm pearls, Xiao Pingan's secret mandala's divine power limit had already reached 7,695 points. He had unknowingly shrunk a lot from the 8,820 points needed to advance to the 7 Sun realm. The Sage Master Realm Pearl and the Weapon Forging Master Realm Pearl from before were too powerful. After fusing with these 2 Realm Pearls, Xiao Pingan's divine power had increased by 488 points. Xiao Pingan first took out the Realm Pearl with the words Medical Association written on it. After thinking for a while, he began to fuse with it with his blood. Xiao Pingan didn't know what was going on with this Realm Pearl. He had been a little cautious before, but after killing Deacon Ling, there was a subtle change in Xiao Pingan's mentality. He became more proactive and bold. This Realm Pearl that he couldn't figure out was more challenging than the Realm Pearls that he knew the origin of. Xiao Pingan wasn't afraid at all. He even faintly looked forward to it. After dripping with his blood, Xiao Pingan was wrapped in a cocoon of light and entered the Realm Pearl's world in just a moment. As soon as he opened his eyes, Xiao Pingan was standing at the entrance of a courtyard. This courtyard was in the middle of a mountain, surrounded by birds and fragrant flowers. Outside the courtyard, there was a large bamboo forest. Around Xiao Pingan, there were more than 10 young people standing with him. These young people were whispering to each other. Looking at the clothes of these young people, they were all Ming Dynasty clothes. Xiao Pingan himself was wearing a round-necked, wide-sleeved green robe with a Confucian headband on his head. He was dressed like a Ming Dynasty imperial scholar. Elder Lin has been living here in seclusion all these years and has never had the thought of taking in a disciple. This time, Elder Lin wants to take in a disciple. This is a great opportunity for us. We must grasp it well. Elder Lin is such a divine physician, a reclusive doctor, and an expert in alchemy. As long as we can learn a little bit of Elder Li's skills, we won't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. I heard that the prefectural magistrate came to visit Elder Lin personally 2 days ago. That's right. Back then, the prefectural magistrate's father was seriously ill and invited Elder Lin to treat him. I heard that the moment Elder Lin arrived, he took out a few pills and the prefectural magistrate's father was cured. I heard that Elder Lin has a granddaughter who is extremely beautiful. Hearing the discussions around him, Xiao Pingan was a bit confused. The voices of the people around him sounded a bit like the accent of the eastern Zhejiang region. But who was Elder Lin? What he didn't know was that Elder Lin might be a reclusive expert in alchemy and medicine in the history of Huaxia. The names of these reclusive experts might not be recorded in the history books. The name of this realm bead was Medicine Couplet. Could it be related to alchemy and medicine? Just as Xiao Pingon was rapidly sorting out the information in his head, the gate of the courtyard in front of him suddenly opened. An old man who looked like a steward walked out with a few spirited servants. The people waiting outside the courtyard immediately surrounded them. The steward glanced at the people outside the courtyard, cleared his throat, and said, "Everyone, Elder Lin will only see one of you today. Elder Lin will give you some couplets to test your literary thinking and ability. Matching the couplets will be considered test. Those who can match all the couplets will be able to see Elder Lin." The Ming Dynasty's couplets were a great success. Xiao Pingon didn't expect that the realm bead was actually used to match couplets. No wonder. The people who were waiting here were all surprised. "Everyone, listen up. The first half of the couplet is coming." After the steward finished speaking, the door fell silent. Then the steward pointed to the bamboos in front of the door and took out a couplet. He unfolded it in front of everyone. The first half of the couplet was a line of words. "Light bamboo leaves are best suited for those who are troubled by the heat." This was a couplet match. At the same time, it was also a test of the people's understanding of medicinal properties. The comprehensive questions of the college entrance examinations in the future were nothing more than this. While the others were still in a daze, Xiao Pingon had already taken a step forward and blurted out, "Good for cold. Little buplurum. Light bamboo leaves could relieve the heat. Little buplurum could dispel the cold." Moreover, the couplet was very neat and no one could find any fault with it. The steward's eyes lit up and looked at Xiao Pingon. "Excellent couplet. This young master can follow me into the courtyard. If the rest of you can match it, you can come in later." Under the envious gazes of the others, Xiao Pingon walked to the door. Under the steward's lead, he entered the courtyard. Just as he entered the courtyard, he was greeted by a screen wall. After turning around the screen wall, there was a corridor. The steward brought Xiao Pingon to the corridor. In front of the corridor, there was a lotus pond. The scenery was beautiful. At the same time, there was another couplet hanging in front of the corridor, "Lake night before wind and moon." The steward smiled and pointed to the couplet hanging in the corridor. "Young master, please take a look at this. What do you think?" This was using medicine to enter the scenery. Similarly, it had to be matched with medicine to enter the scenery. Xiao Pingon smiled. "Half a summer's cool by the porch window." The steward nodded and smiled. He looked at Xiao Pingon with a fervent gaze. "Excellent. Young master, please follow me." After passing through the corridor, a 12-year-old boy appeared in front of them and blocked their way. The boy looked up at Xiao Pingon and asked the steward, "Steward Fu, did this person match the first two couplets?" "Yes, this young master has matched it." The steward smiled. "He has some ability. If he wants to see Grandpa, he has to pass through me." The boy looked at Xiao Pingon and pretended to be an old man. He began to give the question, "Pulsatilla, holding a halberd, riding a seahorse, fighting against wood thieves and grass bandits, returning to the imperial court, worthy of being a general and an elder of the country." Xiao Pingon pondered for a moment and matched it. "Red lady, with a golden hairpin and a silver flower, 5 times more beautiful than peonies and peonies. Desert sistanch married, like a celestial immortal." That young man was originally looking at Xiao Pingon with a picky gaze, but when he heard Xiao Pingon's couplet, that young man was stunned. He savored Xiao Pingon's couplet for a while before smiling. "You're quite capable. All right, you passed my test." After saying that, the young man stepped aside to let them pass. He walked through the corridor and arrived at the parlor. However, there were 3 pretty and quick-witted maidservants blocking his way. Those maidservants sized up Xiao Pingon's face. One of the pretty and bold maidservants, under the gaze of the other 2 maidservants, directly said, "We also have a couplet. Young master, please match it." "Miss, please speak," the servant girl said. "Golden hairpin and cloth skirt, over half a summer." Xiao Pingon pondered for a moment. "Jasmine light powder welcomes the heavenly winter." The servant girl next to her was not convinced. She stepped forward and said, "Purple garden jasmine spring with broadwood fragrance." Xiao Pingon's gaze swept across the faces of the maidservants, and he smiled again. "Matchmaker, joy at first sight." The three maidservants inexplicably blushed. They glanced at each other with a smile on their faces. After bowing to Xia Ping, they also retreated. At this time, the steward looked at Xia Ping with more and more joy. The two of them came to the parlor. There was a written couplet on the table. An old servant stood in front of them and pointed at the first couplet. Then he pointed at the ink, paper, and inkstone on the other side of the table. "Young master, please write the second couplet." Xia Ping looked at the written first couplet. The handwriting was graceful, and it seemed to be written by a woman. Wu Rong's conduct in life is carefree. Li Ren dares not to be careless. Xia Ping thought for a moment. Then he picked up the brush on the table and dipped it in ink. Then he wrote the second couplet in a flamboyant manner. "Treating people with sincerity makes a gentleman have everlasting ambitions." The old servant blew dry the second couplet written by Xia Ping. Then he bowed to Xia Ping and left with the couplet in his hands. The steward looked at Xia Ping with a smile. Then he led Xia Ping through the parlor and into the parlor. An old man with silver hair and beard was sitting on a wooden armchair in the parlor. He looked at Xia Ping with a smile. His eyes were filled with satisfaction. "Greetings, Elder Lin. Please have a seat. I have the last couplet here. What do you think?" Elder Lin said. Then he said the first part of the couplet. "Yazoo, don't be a lotus seed. How many Chinese roses have we walked? How many places have we passed? Finally, we arrived at the sand garden. Along the way, we cut down the brambles and brimmed with caltrops." Xia Ping pondered for a moment. Then he came up with the second half of the couplet. "Till now, my heart is willing to follow my wishes. My ambition is fulfilled. After experiencing thousands of lilies, I have won the joy of 10,000 families. Amidst the fennel, I admire the safflower along the way. Walking on familiar ground, all roads are cleared." When Xia Ping came up with the couplet, Elder Lin stroked his beard and laughed. "Excellent, excellent, excellent." After saying that, the old man looked at a screen in the parlor and said, "Ronger, what do you think of the husband that Grandpa has chosen for you?" "What? Choosing a husband?" Xia Ping was stunned. Wasn't he choosing a disciple? A delicate and shy female voice came from behind the screen. "It's all up to Grandpa." Xia Ping looked at the screen. Behind the screen, he could vaguely see a graceful woman standing behind the screen. She seemed to be secretly sizing them up. "Ha! This realm pearl is quite interesting. If there was such a fate in history, it would be a good story." In a secret room, half an hour later, the cocoon of light on Xia Ping's body dissipated. The god power in the secret mandala shrine's vault of Heaven Kaisan increased by 49 points. It reached 7,744 points. The pharmacist in his secret mandala had also advanced. He could now summon a level 2 pharmacist. This realm pearl was full of rewards. After fusing with this realm pearl, Xia Ping did not rest. He immediately took out Wang Zhaojuan's realm pearl and fused with it with his blood. Moments later, Xia Ping opened his eyes. He looked at himself. Fortunately, he was a man. He was wearing a dragon robe and sitting in the throne room. A group of palace maids and eunuchs were lined up in the hall. They unfurled portraits of beauties in front of him. "Your Majesty, these are portraits of the Yeding Palace maids. Please take a look." Chapter 463. He had actually become Emperor Yuan of Han. Xia Ping looked at the portraits of the palace maids in various poses displayed in the main hall and immediately realized what was going on. In reality, the Zhaojun in history was not as bad as it was described in later literature. Many works describe the Zhaojuan's departure as a humiliating marriage between the Great Han Dynasty and the Great Han Dynasty. This completely erased the achievements of the countless generals of the Great Han Dynasty. In real history, the Great Han Dynasty was at its peak during the era of Emperor Yuan of Han. At this time, the Xiongnu had already been defeated by the previous 10 emperors of the Great Han Dynasty and were on the decline. The southern Xiongnu had already submitted to the Great Han Dynasty. In the first year of Jingning, the leader of the southern Xiongnu, Hu Hangxi, very obediently came to Chang and to pay respects to Emperor Yuan of Han. Emperor Yuan of Han saw that Hu Hangxi was quite obedient and agreed to his request. Of course, facing a barbaric race like the Xiongnu, Emperor Yuan of Han could not bear to let the Liu clan's bloodline and the imperial family's princesses and princesses marry into the Xiongnu as wives. However, at this time, he had to give face to the southern Xiongnu and appease them appropriately. He could not slap them in the face. Wasn't it just a woman? He could casually find a Han Dynasty ordinary family's daughter and give her to Hu Hangxi to marry into the southern Xiongnu tribe. She would be the mother of the world and live a life of luxury. That was what Emperor Yuan of Han thought. Emperor Yuan of Han was naturally reluctant to part with a beautiful woman. Thus, he wanted to casually choose an ugly woman in the palace to marry Hu Hanxia. But who would have thought that under this mistake, Wang Zhaojun would be married off? Wang Zhaojun was, of course, not ugly. She was the most beautiful woman in the Great Han Southern County. Emperor Yuanyuan usually chose too many women and beauties, so he was probably numb to it. In order to save time, Emperor Yuanyuan let the court painter draw a portrait of each of the beauties that entered the palace. When he wanted to choose a beauty, he let a group of eunuchs and palace maids take out the portraits and unfold them in front of him. With a glance, he could easily see who was beautiful and who was ugly, and who was most his liking. Moreover, this choice was more suitable for the emperor's status. Your Majesty, the portraits of all the palace maids in Yeding are here. Who would your Majesty like to bestow to Hu Hangxi? An old eunuch beside him couldn't help but remind him softly when he saw that Xia Pinggan was still staring at the portraits in a daze. The palace maids of Yeding had never been favored by Emperor Yuan of Han. They had never even seen Emperor Yuan of Han's face. Xia Pinggan walked down from his throne and slowly strolled in front of the portraits of the palace maids. As he walked, Xia Pinggan stopped in front of a portrait. It depicted a beautiful palace maid holding a palm leaf fan. She was standing on her tiptoes to catch butterflies among the flowers on the beach. The entire painting was very lifelike. The palace maid's figure and posture were all beautiful. The palace maid's name was written on the portrait, Fu Yuan. Who painted this? Xia Pinggan asked. The old eunuch beside Xia Pinggan glanced at the painting and said, Your Majesty, this painting was painted by Mao Yin-shou. Not bad, not bad. The painting is not bad. Xia Pinggan nodded. Mao Yin-shou, hurry up and thank His Majesty for his golden words. The old eunuch glanced to the side and said in a sharp voice. When one of the painters standing in the corner of the hall heard this, his face lit up with joy, and he hurriedly stepped forward to thank His Majesty for his kindness. This guy was Mao Yin-shou, the one who framed Miss Zhaojun. Xia Pinggan glanced at Mao Yin-shou. Mao Yin-shou looked to be in his 50s. He looked gentle and polite, just like those experts who specialized in swindling people on television programs. His appearance was not bad. I'll deal with you later. Xia Pinggan thought to himself. Give this Fu Yuan to Hu Hangxi. The old eunuch was stunned when he heard Xia Pinggan's words. His Majesty had changed. Last night, His Majesty had said that he could casually choose an average-looking palace maid to give to Hu Hangxi. Why did he choose a beautiful one today? However, the old eunuch did not dare to ask. He only had someone put away the painting and prepare to make the arrangements. Hu Hangxi had not yet arrived in Chang'an. Only the southern Xiongnu envoys were present in Chang'an. These matters had to be settled before Hu Hangxi arrived. The reason Xia Pinggan had chosen this palace maid surnamed Fu to give to Hu Hangxi was because, according to some unofficial historical records, Wang Zhaojun had offended a woman surnamed Fu in the palace. Later on, that woman was chosen by Emperor Yuan of Han to be Zhaoi. Her status immediately rose above Wang Zhaojun's, and she constantly targeted Wang Zhaojun, causing Wang Zhaojun to suffer. Xia Pinggan continued to pace, his gaze sweeping across the portraits of palace maids. Finally, in the last row of the portraits, Xia Pinggan saw a familiar name, Wang Hua. Wang Hua was Wang Zhaojun's real name. The Wang Zhaojun in the portrait was the ugliest of all. Wang Hua's posture was slightly stiff as she stood in front of a pavilion window. Her hands were holding a pipa, Her nostrils were slightly large, and there was a black mole under her eye that looked like a teardrop. Her figure was also not very graceful, as it was completely covered by the pipa. It was this painting that had caused Wang Zhaojuan's downfall. Xiao Pingan sighed. After Wang Zhaojun, in the future, there were no beauties in this world who dared to offend a photographer. Who painted this? Your Majesty, it was painted by Mao Yinshou. The old eunuch beside him said. All right, the others can be dismissed for now. This Wang Hua is interesting. We have never seen such a strange palace made among the palace maids. Looking at her appearance, she can even play the pipa. We just happen to want to listen to the pipa today, so we will summon her to this hall to play a song for us. Yes, Xiao Pingan calmly said. The court painter, Mao Yinshou, who had just been praised, instantly turned pale. His entire body trembled, and he left the hall in a daze with the other painters. When he reached the entrance of the hall, his legs went soft, and he even fell down, looking incomparably wretched. Mao Yinshou would never have dreamed that Emperor Yuan of Han's temperament would change today. He actually specifically wanted to see this ugly woman. After a while, Wang Zhaojun, who was holding the pipa, arrived and entered the hall. Even if Xiao Pingan had seen too many beauties, when he saw Wang Zhaojun at this moment, his eyes still lit up. Wang Zhaojun gracefully entered the hall. As soon as she entered, the entire hall was like a pearl rolling in, and the entire hall became lively and bright. After entering the hall, Wang Zhaojun carefully dressed up, making her look even more luxurious and beautiful. The Chinese people used the phrase, captivating fish and wild geese, to describe the appearance of a peerless beauty. This illusion originated from Wang Zhaojun. When the flying geese saw Wang Zhaojun on the ground, they couldn't help but land to take a closer look. Her hands were soft, her skin was creamy, her collar was smooth, her teeth were sharp, her eyebrows were beautiful, her smile was beautiful, and her eyes were beautiful. Even such a poem couldn't describe half of Wang Zhaojun's beauty. The moment he saw Wang Zhaojun, Xiao Pingan finally understood why Emperor Yuan of Han was so angry that he killed Mao Yinshou and the other court painters after seeing Wang Zhaojun in person. F***CK. Such a rare beauty was actually painted as an ugly woman by you guys. You dare trick me? This is the crime of deceiving the monarch. If I don't kill you, who will I kill? Wang Zhaojun looked at Xiao Pingan's burning gaze as he looked at her. Her face was a bit shy, and her rosy face made her look even more delicate than a flower. However, Wang Zhaojun still graciously bowed to Xiao Pingan. Queen Xiao of the South region greets your Majesty. You know how to play the pipa? Xiao Pingan asked. I know a little. All right, play a song for me here. I want to hear it. What song would your Majesty like to hear? I'll listen to whatever you play. Xiao Pingan smiled slightly. Come, give her a stool. A eunuch brought a stool over and let Wang Zhaojun sit in front of Xiao Pingan. Wang Zhaojun's face turned even redder. For Xiao Pingan, it was a rare experience to be able to hear Wang Zhaojun play the pipa with his own ears. After fusing with so many realm beads, this realm bead was the most satisfying. Seeing the emperor for the first time, Wang Zhaojun was slightly nervous, but she quickly calmed down. She hugged the pipa and put on the armor. With a move of her fingers, the entire hall seemed to be filled with thousands of jade beads falling onto a jade plate. The beautiful sound of the zither flowed out from her slender fingers, causing the entire hall to quiet down. Wang Zhaojun played Li Yinyan's beauty song, which was a reserved piece of palace music. With the sound of the pipa, Wang Zhaojun revealed her jade teeth and opened her red lips slightly. She began to sing. There's a beauty in the north, peerless and independent. A single glance can topple a city. A second glance can topple a country. I'd rather not topple a city or a country. A beauty is hard to find. The folk songs of the Han Dynasty were sung slowly, word by word. Their voices were mellow and melodious, and there were many variations and vocal techniques between the words. Sometimes, the same sentence would be sung multiple times, unlike the fast tempo of the popular songs of the later generations. Listening to Wang Xiaojun play and sing Beauty Song took a full 5 or 6 minutes. Xiao Pinggan let out a long breath. This realm bead, even if nothing was left behind, and it failed in the end, to be able to listen to Wang Xiaojun play and sing a song at this time, it was not in vain. After the song was finished, Xiao Pinggan was immersed in Wang Xiaojun's superb skills. After Wang Xiaojun stopped for half a minute, Xiao Pinggan applauded and praised loudly. This song should only exist in heaven. How many times can it be heard in the human world? Thank you for your praise, your majesty. Wang Xiaojun shyly stared at the ground. Xiao Pinggan asked the eunuch beside him to take out the portrait that Mao Yinshuo had drawn for Wang Xiaojun and show it to Wang Xiaojun. It was probably the first time that Wang Xiaojun had seen her portrait like this, and her face was full of astonishment. How did you offend Mao Yinshuo? He actually drew you like this? Those painters ask for bribes when they draw the portraits of the beauties. I just refused to bribe him and didn't want to be blackmailed by him. I didn't expect. Wang Xiaojun bit her lip and said, "My sister, you're so beautiful, but your temper is too stubborn. Moreover, the struggle in the palace. Do you think it's as simple as you not giving Mao Yinshuo money? Those beauties can bribe Mao Yinshuo to make themselves look good. Naturally, they can also bribe him to make you look ugly." Xiao Pinggan shook his head, and his face turned cold. Bring Mao Yinshuo here. A few minutes later, Mao Yinshuo was brought in again. Chapter 464. He didn't expect it to take so long to integrate with the Realm Pearl. Xiao Pinggan opened his eyes in the secret chamber and looked at his pocket watch. It took less than 15 minutes to integrate with the Realm Pearl. The upper limit of his divine power increased by 16 points, making his divine power reach 7,760 points. There was another building in the secret mandala called the 100 Beauties Pavilion. Wang Xiaojun lived in the 100 Beauties Pavilion. She was the first resident of the 100 Beauties Pavilion. Xiao Pinggan smiled and waved his hand. Wang Xiaojun, who had a head full of pearls and emeralds and was wearing a long palace dress, walked out of the mist beside him. She was beautiful and graceful with bright eyes. She looked exactly the same as when she was in the Realm Pearl. She really made people's eyes light up. She looked no different from a real person. "Greetings, my lord." The summoned Wang Xiaojun placed her hands in front of her chest and bent her knees slightly to salute Xiao Pinggan in a natural and graceful manner. Although this Wang Xiaojun had the same name as the Wang Xiaojun that Xiao Pinggan saw in the manager's hall, her appearance and figure were completely different. This Wang Xiaojun in front of him seemed to be the real Wang Xiaojun in Xiao Pinggan's eyes. Xiao Pinggan didn't know why this was so. The beauties summoned by the Realm Pearl of Beauties were indeed different. Different people would summon different beauties. It was too strange. Xiao Pinggan guessed that this might be related to the various performances and actions of the summoners after they became Emperor Yuan of Han in the Realm Pearl. "Xiaojun, what can you do?" Xiao Pinggan looked at Wang Xiaojun in front of him and couldn't help but ask. The attributes of these unique characters couldn't be seen, so he didn't know what they could do. Zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, songs, dance, could you, whatever you like, my lord. Wang Xiaojun looked at Xiao Pinggan shyly and lowered her eyes. "I see that my lord has a big city, and there's a Sage Master Hall in the city. I can learn all the books in the Sage Master Hall. If my lord wants me to learn other skills, such as managing accounts, managing businesses, cooking soup with my bare hands, I can also—" "Books in the Sage Master Hall? What kind of book is this?" Xiao Pinggan was stunned. He hadn't been to the Sage Master Hall for many days, so he didn't notice that there were books in the Sage Master Hall. Upon hearing Wang Xiaojun's words, Xiao Pinggan closed his eyes and sent his consciousness back into the secret mandala. He arrived at the Sage Master Hall and saw many books there. Those books were placed on the bookshelves at the back of the Sage Master Hall for people to borrow. Just as Xiao Pinggan's gaze shifted to the Sage Master Hall, he saw Tsang Jie calmly enter the Sage Master Hall and place a scroll of the Medicine Alliance on the bookshelf. These books were all records of Song Jie's experiences, achievements, and contributions of all the realm pearls he had fused with. They were placed here one by one. They looked like historical biographies, but they weren't. The complete book included the Analects of Confucius, Shinong's 100 Herbs Classic, Bienkei's Internal Classic, and Bienkei's External Classic, and Yu the Great's Water Classic. Other than that, there were also books and articles of different genres. For example, Yin Ying's Dream Interpretation, Tian Guangluan's Courage, Chengmin Li Shui, and so on. There is also the woolen cloth manufacturing method that Xia Pingan invented in the Realm Pearl he had used to summon the wind and cloud cavalry, the forging of stirrups, and so on. They were all placed on the bookshelves according to different categories. The more Realm Pearls he fused with, the more characters he would become, and the richer the collection of books in the Sage Master Hall would be. Xia Pingan saw Kong Zi's students teaching the farmer warriors he had summoned in the Sage Master Hall. They were learning how to read. Could it be that the Sage Master Hall allowed the people he had summoned in the secret mandala to learn new skills? Interesting. Education is indeed non-discriminatory. After withdrawing his consciousness from the Sage Master Hall, Xia Pingan burst into laughter. Grabbing Wang Xiaojun's warm hand, he gently pulled Wang Xiaojun over and made her sit on his thigh. Taking in a deep breath of Wang Xiaojun's delicate fragrance, he said, "You can learn anything you want. In the future, if you're free, you can chat with me, play the pipa, or sing some songs." With a wave of his hand, he had Wang Xiaojun return to the secret mandala. Xia Pingan was in a great mood. This beautiful realm pearl was indeed the benefit of a summoner. For a beauty like Wang Xiaojun, when he was troubled, he could summon her out to chat with her, play the pipa, and sing a song. It was simply like a celebrity's private concert. Such treatment was enjoyed by an emperor. After sending off Wang Xiaojun, Xia Pingan began to prepare for the secret doppelganger technique. He summoned the assassin and Xuanwu back to the secret mandala. Then, he took out a dagger and began to set up a soul power barrier in the secret mandala. The secret doppelganger technique was similar to fusing with the realm pearl. However, there were also differences. When fusing with the realm pearl, the body would not have any perception or ability to move. However, in the state of the secret doppelganger technique, the soul power barrier could protect his current body from being possessed. At the same time, even in the doppelganger state, his spirit body would be able to sense the abnormalities in the environment of the main body to a certain extent. He could then return to this body as quickly as possible. This was a necessary preparation for the secret doppelganger technique. Because the secret doppelganger technique might take a long time to complete this time, even if the summoned Xuanwu and the assassin stayed, their planar descending time would quickly be consumed. Therefore, Xia Pingan directly summoned Xuanwu and the assassin back. Under the blessing of the secret doppelganger technique, Xia Pingan formed a seal with one hand while the dagger in the other hand glowed. Xia Pingan circled himself with the dagger and drew 5 circles around himself. The 5 circles were strengthened by soul power and secret doppelganger technique. As soon as he drew them with the dagger, they turned into 5 thin circles of light that shrouded Xia Pingan's body. This was the soul power barrier. After the barrier was set up, Xia Pingan put away the dagger. According to the requirements of the secret doppelganger technique, he formed a seal with both hands, gradually closed his eyes, and slowed his breathing. In just a moment, Xia Pingan's body entered the embryonic breathing realm. In this realm, his body's time seemed to be frozen. His heart would beat once every few minutes, and his breathing was as thin as gossamer. He maintained the lowest energy consumption and entered the mysterious realm. In this state, his body could remain in this state for more than 10 years without any problems. After completing the embryonic breathing realm, the preparation of the secret doppelganger technique in this world was completed. Xia Pingan's soul entered the spirit realm temple and returned to the stronghold through the arched door. Elder Mu was waiting for Xia Pingan in the stronghold. He had been waiting for several days, and he was even a little anxious. The last time Xia Pingan left the stronghold, He said that he would go back to the material world to complete the preparation of the secret doppelganger technique. He didn't expect that he would be gone for several days. "Your Majesty, are you okay?" "I'm fine. I just encountered an accident and was delayed." "That's good." Elder Moon nodded as he raised his head and looked at the stars in the sky. "It's not easy to find the host of the doppelganger. It might take a long time to find a suitable target." "Your Majesty, you can start now." Xiao Pingon nodded as he raised his head and looked at the stars in the sky. In the next second, Xiao Pingon flew up into the sky. His body gradually turned transparent until it completely disappeared and blended into the blue of the spiritual realm. Xiao Pingon was searching for those dead people whose astral souls had dissipated in their dreams by the secret doppelganger technique. When those people died in their dreams, their astral souls would turn into meteors and flash across the sky. Only those who had died in their dreams for less than 6 hours could become Xia Pingon's doppelganger. Furthermore, that body had to be the same as Xia Pingon's astral body, a human and a yang attribute. Although there had been many catastrophes and disasters, there were still billions of people on Earth. Among these billions of people, people would die every day. However, not many of them died in their dreams. Most of them died due to accidents, various diseases, and pain. Some old people would leave peacefully in their dreams and turn into meteors in the sky of the spiritual realm to bid farewell to this world. However, when those old people left, their bodies were already old and weak, so they couldn't be used as doppelganger. Therefore, the best doppelganger couldn't be too old and should die in their dreams. Such doppelganger was actually not easy to find. For more than 10 days, Xiao Pingon used the secret method to sense dozens of people who had left this world peacefully in their dreams. Most of them were old people. There was also a young woman, but her body couldn't be used by Xiao Pingon. On the 16th day, since Xiao Pingon entered the spiritual realm this time, a meteor streaked across the sky in a certain place. Xiao Pingon was like a person waiting for a discount when he finally sensed a person who had left this world in his dreams. A man in his 30s with a usable body. "Earth, I'm back." Chapter 465. The blood moon had just fallen, and a lonely, rusty iron tower stood in the city. Against the background of the iron tower, thick smoke still lingered in the city. Old tires were piled together and ignited. The effect was the same as that of ancient smoke signals. At this moment, Paris was a city that couldn't be described with simple words. Since the September 27th bloody incident 2 years ago, this largest city in Europe had embarked on the road of autonomy and was full of revolutionary spirit. All the government agencies in the city had been evacuated, and they would never return. It was extremely dangerous to appear in or around the city in the military uniform of the government and claim to be a public official of the government. Such people usually could not survive for more than 24 hours. The Parisian citizens who had been abandoned in the disaster, various strange organizations, escaped prisoners, gangs, foreign snobs, and some capable summoners had completely taken over the city. They were extremely hostile to the government, who had escaped to the doomsday bunker during the disaster and caused thousands of casualties. The surviving Parisians described the tragedy as a massacre of the Parisians who had blocked the road by cowardly and shameless politicians in order to escape. The wreckage of the armored vehicles on the street was still telling the story of the tragedy. The people who had survived the chaos and the holy spirits spent 2 years gradually building their own order in the city. The airport in Paris had been reopened a year ago. The terrifying space invasion suddenly stopped. Although the demonic creatures had yet to be completely wiped out, and the evil and dark forces were still stirring, and even wreaking havoc in some places, the human country still had a short respite and recovery time after the disaster. After all, as long as people were alive, they had to live. To the southwest of the Iron Tower, near the Seine River and the suburbs of the city, there was a large civilian area in the city. When the first ray of sunlight shone on the pointed church roof in the civilian area, the entire civilian area gradually became lively, although the black smoke in the sky hadn't dissipated yet. All kinds of noises and smells of the marketplace began to surge in the civilian area. Countless people in the city began to bustle about for their lives and survival. The two fat pigs that had been driven out into the streets by the butcher caused chaos in the narrow streets of the commoner district. They attracted a lot of curses and envious gazes. Due to the lack of energy and various living materials, the entire Paris seemed to have returned to the way it was 200 years ago. Dirty water was flowing on the streets of the civilian districts. Few running cars could be seen on the streets of the city. Peddlers carried guns on their backs, and butchers carried submachine guns in their hands. Everything was magical. The butcher and the fat pig passed through a place called Rose Street and passed by a cheap inn called the Old Man and the Sea. At this moment, at the end of the corridor on the second floor of the inn, the owner of the inn, Garcia, was violently knocking on the door of the room with the bronze plate number 206 hanging on it with his fat hand as he shouted in half-baked Mandarin. The poor door groaned in pain as the innkeeper pounded on it, as if it was going to fall apart at any moment. The innkeeper didn't feel sorry for it at all. He had long lost his patience. His shouts echoed throughout the inn, and even the people on the streets outside could hear him. "Mr. Luo, I know you're in the room. You said that you'd have to pay a month's rent after the blood moon. I've already given you a week's grace. This is the greatest kindness I can give you on account of your identity as an artist." No matter how much the innkeeper shouted outside, no one responded from inside. After knocking on the door for a while, the innkeeper panted heavily, probably afraid that the poor door would really collapse and that it wouldn't be worth it for him to spend a sum of money to repair it. He finally stopped abusing the door. "Tomorrow, I'll give you one more day. If you still can't pay the rent after tomorrow, I'll have to call the security team. If you're thrown into the collective farm, I won't be able to take care of your dignity." After saying that, the fat hotel owner finally left the door of room 206, grumbling under his breath. The old floorboards were squeaking under his feet. It seemed that the noise outside had finally woken up the person in the room. At this moment, the person in the room slowly woke up from the floorboards and opened his eyes. Xia Pingan looked at everything in front of him. His mind was temporarily blank. His last memory was still the last image left behind by the secret doppelganger technique. On the floor next to him, there was a collapsed chair, a broken rope, 2 empty beer bottles, and a bottle of AM medicine. Xia Pingan raised his head and saw another piece of rope hanging from the ceiling beam. The collapsed chair and the broken rope hanging from the ceiling beam. A wave of chaotic memories surged into Xia Pingan's mind. In this memory, Xia Pingan saw himself drinking a lot of beer and randomly pouring some medicine into his mouth. Then, he walked woodenly onto the chair and wrapped his neck around the hanging rope. Then, like a salted fish that had flopped ashore, he stepped on the chair and began to struggle painfully and suffocatingly on the rope. The rope broke. Then, he fell from the chair and his head hit the ground heavily. The owner of this body was called Luo, and he was an international student from Huaxia who studied painting in Paris. As an artist, it was the most difficult group to survive in troubled times. Everyone could not even keep their lives, and their stomachs were still hungry. Who would care about painting? The feeling on his neck was very uncomfortable. Xia Pingan touched his neck and found that there was a burning mark under his chin, near his Adam's apple. In Xia Pingan's eyes, this body was really weak. A person who was not even a summoner. In Xia Pingan's eyes, this body was just like an ant. This body was still slowly adapting to the powerful spiritual body that had intruded into it. In addition to the burning sensation on his neck, the muscles, bones, and meridians of this body were also slowly changing. This process of adaptation was that this body would gradually and slowly go through a terrifying and long process of being imbued with divine power. This process would take about half a month to a month. Because of Xia Pingan's powerful spiritual body, he could slowly create and nurture a powerful body. In just a moment, following the changes in his body, Xia Pingan felt that the burning sensation on his neck became more and more acute. This was a sign that the sensory ability of his nerve endings was increasing. Xia Pingan struggled to get up and stumbled to a mirror in the room. He could not wait to see what he looked like in the mirror. The person in the mirror really had a completely unfamiliar Chinese face. It was a Chinese man wearing a white shirt. His black hair was a little messy, and he had a melancholy temperament. His black eyes were somewhat vacant, and his nose was straight. He was about 30 years old, and his face was well-defined. He was even a little handsome. However, the face of the person in the mirror was sickly pale, as if he had not seen the sun for many days. His body was not strong, and he had the frailty of a scholar. The dark red strangle mark on his neck was very eye-catching. Looking at the man in the mirror, Xia Pingan touched his face and smiled. "Don't worry, I will take care of this body in the future. I won't ruin it like you." Looking at the face in the mirror, Xia Pingan felt that this scene was a little funny, but he could not bring himself to laugh. The tearing pain in his head suddenly appeared, and the pain was still increasing. Xia Pingan hugged his head and let out a painful groan. His body shook twice, and in the tearing pain in his head, more memories poured into Xia Pingan's mind. This was an inevitable process of the body clone technique, and it was somewhat uncomfortable. His spirit body was gradually adapting to this body, and at the same time, it would browse some of this body's memories. A woman's face suddenly appeared in Xia Yang's mind. "Oh, my dear Olivier, this is not suicide, but a tragic and tragic death for love. My lover is married, but the groom is not me. Since I can't be with my true love forever, then let me use my life to make you remember me forever." Xia Pingan looked at the pale and weak face in the mirror and panted heavily. His hands grabbed the table in front of him, and his knuckles were a little white. After a full 7 or 8 minutes, the tearing pain in his brain gradually subsided and eased up bit by bit. Xia Pingan raised his eyes and scanned the room, looking for some medicine. Unfortunately, the room was empty. This small hotel was too simple, and almost everything could be seen at a glance. A bed, a desk, a wardrobe, and a chair were all the furnishings in the room. Moreover, in Luoan's memory, he didn't have the money to buy expensive medicine. At this moment in Paris, the price of medicine was beyond imagination. Although Luoan was poor, he loved cleanliness. He was probably an obsessive-compulsive disorder patient. Even if he wanted to hang himself, the things in the room were tidy. The bedding on the bed was neatly folded, without a single wrinkle. The red oak desk was spotless, and the books, pens, ink, and paper were all arranged in a straight line. A mobile phone with a broken screen was neatly placed on the desk, in a straight line with the books. On the desk, there was a piece of paper, and a pendant was pressed on the paper. Xia Pingan walked to the desk and picked up the silver and enamel pendant. The pendant could be opened, and there was an inch-long profile picture of Olivier. In the picture, Olivier was an exotic beauty. Olivier was standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, wearing a cap and a blue dress. Her face was a little chubby, but her facial features were very beautiful. On the piece of paper pressed under the pendant was Luoan's last love poem to Olivier in French. As an artist, Luoan could write beautiful Gertrude cursive characters, which was pleasing to the eye. The love poem was as follows. "What can I do to keep you? I give you the poor streets, the despairing sunset, the blood moon in the ruined city. I give you the sorrow of a man who looks at the lonely moon for a long time. I give you my dead ancestors, whose ghosts are commemorated in marble. My father's father, who was killed at the border, 2 bullets pierced through his chest. He died with his beard, and the soldiers wrapped his body in cowhide. My mother's grandfather, who was 24 years old, who led the charge against the monsters under the Yellow Highlands, is now a ghost on horseback. I give you all the understanding that my books can contain, all the manliness or humor that my life can contain, and all the meanness. I give you the loyalty of a man who has never had faith. I give you the fire that fills my breast, and the sea that will drown the world. I give you the core of myself that I have tried to preserve, the core that does not make words, that does not trade with dreams, that is untouched by time and joy and adversity. I give you the memory of a yellow rose that I saw one evening many years before you were born. I give you explanations of yourself, theories of yourself, true and shocking news of yourself. I give you my loneliness, my darkness, the hunger of my heart. I try to touch you with perplexity, with danger, with failure. Note 1. At the bottom of the poem, there were 2 extra lines. The writing was a little blurred, as if tears had fallen on it, but the tears had dried, leaving only a vague mark. My dear Olivia, if I can't give you this, then I hope to use my life forever young, to live in your heart, to wish you happiness. This is the last poem I write to you, Luo, and who loves you forever. Looking at the last lines of Luo and's poem, Xiao Pingan was a little moved. Luo, and this poor artist, was definitely an infatuated man. But wasn't this infatuated man afraid that the woman would have nightmares at night when she read his will? Hanging was the ugliest way to die. After death, people's tongues would linger out. Death was the least worth it. As long as you were alive, there was hope. Also, this guy owed money to the innkeeper. Not only did he not pay it back, but he almost turned his room into a haunted house before he died. How unkind. Xiao Pingan picked up the mobile phone with a broken screen and looked at it. The phone couldn't be turned on, as it had run out of battery. Nowadays, charging was a luxury in Paris. The books on the desk were all works of art, poetry, and philosophy. None of them were related to making money or survival. Xiao Pingan stood in front of the desk for 2 minutes. Then Xiao Pingan heard his stomach growling. This was the idling and wriggling of the intestines caused by hunger. It was also a protest and reminder to Xiao Pingan that this body was too weak. The transformation of the body by the spirit required a lot of food and calories. When Xiao Pingan woke up just now, he felt that there was still a lot of alcohol left in his body. His head was still a little confused, but in a short while, the alcohol seemed to have been digested, and his head became more and more clear. Yesterday, poor Luo locked himself in his room and didn't eat anything for the whole day. He only drank 2 bottles of wine. The need to survive and the pressure suddenly hit him in the face. Xiao Pingan tried to sense his secret mandala. Because the spirit and body had not fully adapted, the secret was still trembling and faintly discernible. He couldn't use it at all. He had to think of a way to get through the days when his spirit body and body were adapting. Once he adapted, he would be the only 6th Sun realm summoner on this planet. He would be the undisputed strongest person in the world. Note 1. Borges, what can I use to keep you? Slightly modified. Chapter 466. Half an hour later, a neatly dressed Xiao Pingan walked out of the hotel room. Before leaving the room, Xiao Pingan tidied up everything in the room. He stepped on the chair, untied the rope on the beam, and threw it into the glove box. He also collected the scattered wine bottles. If the owner of the hotel saw the broken rope hanging on the beam and the scar on his neck, who knew what the unscrupulous and bad-tempered innkeeper would do? As for his current identity, from the moment he walked out of the door, he could only be Luo and a destitute painter in Paris. At this time, the hunger in his stomach became more urgent. Without food, the body would take a long time to adapt to the spiritual body, and the recovery would be very slow. This was something Xiao Pingan did not want to see. There was a kettle in the room. In the past half an hour, Xiao Pingan only drank a little water. Even this little water was quickly absorbed by Xiao Pingan's body, slightly relieving his thirst. However, the hunger was still there. Xiao Pingan felt that the hunger in his stomach was like a fire, and the acid in his stomach was surging up. It was unbearable. Xiao Pingan pinched his pocket. There was no money in it. The last of Luo An's money had been exchanged for wine. At this time in Paris, it was popular to barter or trade with precious metals such as gold and silver. As for the circulating euro, its value had been greatly reduced. Some places even did not accept banknotes, but only recognized precious metals. This was because Europe was in a mess. It was said that many banks had been robbed by gangsters and gangs in the previous chaos. It was said that some people had produced a lot of fake banknotes, which were not so useful anymore. Xiao Pingan was wearing the most decent clothes he could find. The shirt inside was the linen shirt he wore when he hanged himself. Outside the shirt was a black windbreaker, which looked a little old. It should have not been dry cleaned for a long time. Xiao Pingan found an old blue scarf around his neck to cover the scar on his neck. Creak, creak. When Xiao Pingan walked past the slit on the stairs, it made a sound that made one's teeth ache. This sound was so ear-piercing that it was like an alarm, which made Xiao Pingan's cautiousness useless. Sure enough, when Xiao Pingan walked down the stairs, he saw the owner of the hotel, Garcia, standing at the corner of the stairs with his arms crossed. He was staring at Luo with a pair of small, greasy eyes that looked like they belonged to a merchant. "Mr. Painter, are you finally willing to come down?" Garcia stretched out his muscular arm and opened his hand in front of Luo, and "You should pay last month's rent, right? You can get the security team to take me away now and throw me to the farm for hard labor." Xiao Pingan looked at Garcia calmly. There was not a hint of panic in his eyes. Instead, there was a hint of oppression. The result of this is that you'll lose a month's rent and gain an enemy. You'll get nothing else. Garcia looked at Luo in surprise. He felt that this abject painter, who was usually so timid and careful in front of him, was acting a little strange today. He actually dared to talk to him like this. Just as Garcia raised his eyebrows and was about to get angry, Xiao Pingan's voice was heard again. "It's not easy to make money in Paris at this time. There are not many people staying in your small hotel. I know you're also in a difficult situation. I think we should build a relationship of trust and get through this together. You continue to guard your hotel, and I'll go out today to find a way to make money to pay your rent. What do you think?" The hotel owner looked at Luo and suspiciously. He hesitated for a moment. "Are you really willing to go out and make money? Are you not going to peddle your lousy oil paintings that no one wants?" These days, Luo had been thinking of ways to survive. He had even set up a stall on the street for people to paint. However, his life was getting more and more difficult. In the hotel owner's opinion, being a painter was absolutely useless in such a chaotic situation. It was too stupid. Ahem, people need to learn to change. I'm adapting to it now. Now that I can't make money by painting, I will change a job and try my best to make money to pay your rent. As long as it's a profitable job, I'm willing to try it. You can't be thinking of running away just like that, right?" The innkeeper looked at Xiao Pingan suspiciously. "My belongings and those paintings are still in my room. Additionally, where could I go now? At least it's safe here. I'm not that stupid." Luo looked very calm. The hotel owner finally believed in his words as he looked less solemn. "Mr. Luo, I hope you can keep your promise. I'll wait for you here. Let's see what you can make when you come back in the evening. I haven't eaten anything for a day. Before I leave, please give me a sufficient amount of breakfast. Only then will I have the strength to work." The hotel owner raised his eyebrows again. He was about to get angry. A curse was about to come out of his mouth, but he held it back in the blink of an eye. This was because Xiao Pingan had already thrown the silver enamel pendant to him. "Is it okay to exchange this for a meal?" There was also a photo of Olivier in the pendant. However, that photo was meaningless to Xiao Pingan. Olivier was just a stranger who had nothing to do with him now. The hotel owner took the pendant and checked it. He weighed it in his hand and blinked. "Silver? Yes, my most beloved thing. I'll give it to you now." "Okay, this thing can be exchanged for a meal. Sit there and wait. I'll get you something to eat." The first floor of the inn was close to the street. There were a few small tables where people could drink and eat. The bar of the inn was already empty. There was no more alcohol, but there was still some food in the inn. Xiao Pingan sat and waited for a while. The hotel owner got him breakfast. There was a piece of hard rye almond bread and a glass of milk. There was nothing else. Xiao Pingan was not picky. He took a big bite. The bread was a little hard, and there was even a little wheat bran in it. As for the milk, although it was hot, Xiao Pingan knew that it had been watered down and there was no sugar in it. But no matter what, after eating these things, although he was not full, the hunger in his stomach was not so urgent. Xiao Pingan felt that his body had recovered a bit of strength, and his body felt much better. Xiao Pingan finished the breadcrumbs and the last drop of watered milk in the glass. He then stood up, tidied up his clothes, and walked out of the hotel. First, he needed to get money and food. As for Xian Ning and the others, he would consider it after he had settled down. The street outside the hotel was a little chaotic. Remnants of buildings and garbage could be seen everywhere. Dirty water flowed in small ditches. Xiao Pingan walked carefully on the street. In the civilian area, there were shops and hotels with various small signs on both sides of the street. Everyone was busy, indifferent, and vigilant. Several old prostitutes exposed their thighs early in the morning, and people with guns on their backs could be seen everywhere. After walking for about 100 meters, Xiao Pingan saw the security team. More than 10 young men wearing armbands and carrying rifles and submachine guns were walking in front of him. They scanned the crowd on the street, indicating their status in this residential area. The security team was protecting the safety of the residential area. Therefore, the people and various businesses in the residential area would regularly pay taxes to the security team. In fact, they were actually paying protection fees. When there was a security team in a place, all kinds of gangsters and criminals would not dare to make trouble at will. Therefore, the security was relatively guaranteed. Above the security team, there were various organizations in Paris. The security team was only responsible for maintaining order at the bottom level. At this moment in Paris, even in broad daylight, the echoes of gunshots could be heard occasionally. However, everyone was used to it and was somewhat numb to it. In fact, Xiao Pingan had already thought of how to get money. Previously, Luoan had been robbed by several gangsters on a street outside the civilian area twice. Once, his glasses were broken. The security there was a bit chaotic. He was going to go fishing and rob those gangsters. Those people should have more money than him. When they passed by the ruins of a building, Xiao Pingan found a half-meter-long water pipe with a curved head and hid it in his windbreaker. His body had not fully recovered yet, so this thing was useful. Chapter 467. When he walked out of the civilian area, Xiao Pingan felt that the world in his eyes was gradually becoming clearer. Luoan's nearsightedness was more than 300 degrees. He had just eaten something to replenish his energy, and the speed at which his two bodies were fusing had quietly increased. At the same time, his nearsighted eyes had quietly recovered, and at the same time, his physical strength and quality had also improved a little. At the very least, he no longer felt as weak as before. Less than 20 minutes after leaving the civilian district, Xiao Pingan arrived at the chaotic district. This district belonged to Paris Issy town, and half of the surrounding towns had already been destroyed, and everything was in ruins. The once romantic city was no longer romantic at all. There were criminals everywhere. Xiao Pingan was just casually strolling around the nearby streets. In the blink of an eye, 3 black hoodlums wearing hoodies suddenly rushed out from the nearby alley. One of them held a knife, the other held a pistol, and pushed Xiao Pingan rudely into the nearby alley. "Kid, hurry up, and take out all the valuable things on you." The black hoodlum who spoke had thick lips, a fierce face, and a slightly fat body. The moment he opened his mouth, he had a thick stench. He pointed his pistol at Xiao Pingan's chest and ordered in very fluent Chinese, "Watch, ring, money, cell phone, all of them." Just from the words of this black man, Xiao Pingan could tell that this was not the first time this guy had robbed a Chinese in Paris. If he did not rob a few dozen times, he would not be able to practice such a fluent Chinese accent. "Hurry up." Another hoodlum stood behind Xiao Pingan and used a dagger to press against Xiao Pingan's back. A hoodlum stretched out his hands and quickly searched Xiao Pingan's body. Other than the steel pipe in his windbreaker, there was nothing else on Xiao Pingan's body. The hoodlum who was searching his body suddenly touched the steel pipe in Xiao Pingan's windbreaker and was slightly stunned. Xiao Pingan smiled slightly and dodged to the side, avoiding the black muzzle in front of him. He grabbed the hoodlum's wrist with one hand and pulled out the steel pipe with the other, smashing it on the hoodlum's face. With this strike, Xiao Pingan had already used all the strength in this body, and the force was not light. The hoodlum's nose collapsed, his teeth were all knocked out, and a deep bloody mark appeared on his face. With a scream, he fell to the ground and fainted. Xiao Pingan's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He grabbed the gun that fell from the hoodlum's hand, and, at the same time, his body moved slightly to the side, avoiding the dagger that was stabbing him from behind. He kicked his foot forward and directly kicked the underbelly of the hoodlum who was searching his body. With one kick, the hoodlum who was searching his body knelt on the ground while foaming at the mouth. His body curled up into a shrimp, and he suddenly stopped breathing. Although the strength and reaction speed of this body was not good and could not be compared to a summoner who had just merged with the Foundation Establishment Realm Pearl, Xiao Pingan's combat awareness was superb. Dealing with these hoodlums in close combat was not a problem at all. After knocking down 2 hoodlums in the blink of an eye, Xiao Pingan suddenly turned around and took a step back. Before the hoodlum with the dagger could stab him a second time, the muzzle in Xiao Pingan's hand was already pointed at the hoodlum's head, and one of his fingers had already unlocked the safety. Do you know who we are? We're from the BG gang. If you dare to touch us, our people will find you in the entire Paris. Even if you hide in the Chinese community of the 11th district, it's useless. The Chinese community of the 11th district will soon be broken by several gangs in Paris. Just wait for our revenge. Xiao Pingan's face turned slightly pale, but he continued to threaten Xiao Pingan. Black-haired boy, you're in big trouble. How dare you resist? Do you know who we are? We're from the BG gang. This hoodlum spoke French, so Xiao Pingan could completely understand him. Xiao Pingan did not care what the BG gang was. A person who was not even afraid of demigods and demon overlords would not care about a small gang. However, Xiao Pingan did not immediately react to the Chinese community in the 11th district that the hoodlum mentioned. Because he had not completely absorbed Luo An's memories, he only felt that the name was a bit familiar. After a few seconds, Xiao Pingan finally reacted and the relevant memories emerged in his mind. The 11th district was an area where the Chinese in Paris were more concentrated. There were more Chinese there, and there were many wholesale companies and several large wholesale markets. It was an important gathering place for the Chinese in Paris. At this moment, Paris was in chaos, and the Chinese in the 11th district seemed to have formed a security team to maintain the security of the wholesale markets and streets. There were gangs attacking the Chinese community in the 11th district. This was the first time that Xiao Pingan heard this news. It was somewhat valuable. Seeing that Xiao Pingan did not speak, a trace of complacency flashed across the hoodlum's eyes. He thought that Xiao Pingan was afraid, so he said, "Relax, don't you Chinese hate trouble the most? Don't make trouble for yourself. Give me the gun, and you can go." As he spoke, he slowly stretched out his hand, trying to grab the gun in Xiao Pingan's hand. Just as the hoodlum's hand grabbed the gun barrel, a trace of mockery flashed across Xiao Pingan's eyes. Then, he directly pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet shot out from the muzzle and directly hit the gangster's outstretched hand. Half of his palm was blasted into a bloody mess. After a brief shock, the gangster suddenly bent down, holding his broken palm and wailing. "You're wrong. The last thing I'm afraid of is trouble," Xiao Pingan said in French. Just as the hoodlum raised his head, a steel pipe hit the hoodlum's face. The hoodlum fell to the ground and fainted. In the blink of an eye, 3 hoodlums fell to the ground, and no one was left standing. Xiao Pingan held his gun and watched the changes in the surrounding streets. After waiting for a few minutes, not a single person came over, and the pedestrians who heard the gunshots in the alley all quickened their pace and left quickly. The other hoodlums didn't come over to check either. It seemed to be a normal thing to hear gunshots here. Xiao Pingan then searched the 3 hoodlums. On the 3 hoodlums, there was a Glock pistol, 3 magazines, 2 daggers, and even a military grenade. The grenade was in the pocket of the hoodlum who was in charge of the body search just now. In addition to these weapons, the 3 hoodlums had more than 2,000 euros in cash, 2 gold rings, a necklace, and a 70% new gold watch on the hand of the hoodlum who held the gun just now. What a great harvest! Xiao Pingan put everything on himself. Then he swung the steel pipe and smashed the right kneecaps of the hoodlums. After that, he walked toward the nearby restaurant that was still open. The pitiful bread and milk that he had eaten in the small hotel just now was not enough. Xiao Pingan was hungry again. He felt that he could eat an entire cow at this moment. The public transportation in Paris had long been paralyzed. Therefore, if he wanted to go somewhere without a car, he could only walk there. The pedestrians in the city walked in a hurry. In the daytime, there was basic order on the streets. Those hoodlums were not so brazen as to rob on the streets, because there were people carrying guns everywhere. There were also security teams on the streets. All kinds of missing person notices and recruitment advertisements were posted on the walls, telephone poles, and bus stops. Abject painters, unemployed clowns, and acrobats were soliciting customers and performing on the streets. All of them looked disheveled. There were barely any intact shops on the streets. They had all been smashed, and broken glass was everywhere. Many buildings had traces of arson. There were not many shops that were still in business. There were more than one armed security guard standing in front of the shops that were still in business. This was especially true for the bakeries, butchers, and fruit shops. From the outside, people who didn't know better would think that there were people guarding the vaults of banks. Some of the shops even had signs that said, "This shop only accepts precious metals and barter transactions." Xiao Pingan finally arrived at the restaurant in his memory. At the entrance of the restaurant, there were several burly men with guns. There was even an armored vehicle that was modified from a pickup truck. Under the gaze of those burly men, Xiao Pingan calmly walked up the stairs of the restaurant. A waiter in a black tuxedo came over with a tray. He slightly bowed. "Sir, according to the restaurant's rules, payment first, consumption second. How would you like to pay, sir?" Xiao Pingan put the gold watch that he had just received on the tray. "Give me a meal according to the value of this gold watch, high-calorie food." The waiter glanced at the gold watch and revealed a smile. "I see, sir. Please come in." Chapter 468. It's good to be rich. Sitting in the restaurant, Xiao Pingan sighed in his heart as he ate a large plate of lamb leg in front of him. The lamb leg was a classic French dish. It was said that the lamb leg had to be marinated for 7 hours before being stewed, so it tasted very good and did not have the fishy smell of mutton. There was a lot of lamb leg in front of Xiao Pingan, and almost half of the lamb leg was placed in front of him. In addition to the lamb leg, the cold dish was sardines, the soup was oxtail soup, and the side dish was prawns. The main dish was the lamb leg, which was full of lamb leg, and it was accompanied by a glass of red wine. As Xiao Pingan ate, he felt his body changing rapidly. With sufficient food, the fusion between his spirit body and his body accelerated, and the frequency of the vibration of the secret mandala gradually decreased. After eating the lamb leg, Xiao Pingan was surprised to find that he could actually sense the secret mandala. As the secret mandala's foundation establishment realm bead, the Swearin realm bead had the spell slots of the Cho clan realm bead and the Shinnong clan realm bead's sculpture totems. They became clearer and clearer in his perception, and he seemed to be able to use some of his divine power to use the basic spells brought by the 3 foundation establishment realm beads. As for his body, at this moment, his physical quality had already recovered to the level when he had fused with the realm pearl. His muscles, bones, and meridians had all undergone significant changes. Occasionally, his bones and meridians would emit a soft, squirming sound, causing the waitress who was pouring wine for him to look at him with a bewildered expression, thinking that it was his stomach that was rumbling. The secret mandala seemed to be rapidly recovering according to the order in which he fused with the foundation establishment realm beads. His body was also recovering at the same speed. Interesting. Although there was still a long way to go before he reached the One Sun realm, Xiao Pingan was already very satisfied to be able to use divine power and simple spells. He finally felt a little safer. After finishing the lamb leg and drinking the soup, Xiao Pingan was still unsatisfied, but the feeling of hunger had finally left him. The restaurant then served cauliflower salad, cheese dessert, and coffee. After finishing the cheese dessert, the manager of the restaurant walked to Xiao Pingan. The restaurant manager was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was dressed in a clean and decent suit. He had a big belly and a beautiful mustache. His expression was slightly serious. "Sir, did you get into trouble outside?" "Oh, what's wrong?" Xiao Pingan was slightly stunned. "There are some gang members outside our restaurant. They seem to be looking for a black-haired Chinese. You're now a customer of our restaurant." We won't let those gang members in, but if you go out, we can't guarantee your safety," the manager told Xiaopingan. After that, he looked at his watch. "We don't offend each other. Therefore, sir, you have 20 minutes to finish your meal. You can leave after finishing your cheese and coffee in our restaurant." "Oh, is that so?" Xiaopingan stood up from the booth and looked outside through a window not far from the restaurant. While he was eating, 7 or 8 hoodlums in hoodies had appeared on the street outside the restaurant. They were like jackals wandering on the street, staring in the direction of the restaurant from time to time. However, those hoodlums didn't dare to come over because the modified armored pickup truck at the restaurant's entrance was a huge deterrent. The bodyguards standing at the restaurant's entrance were like loyal hunting dogs. Each of them had their hands on their weapons and were vigilantly staring at the hoodlums wandering outside the restaurant. Looking at the hoodlums' attire and skin color, they were probably the same as the 3 robbers. Everything was within Xiaopingan's expectations. After knowing that there was a gang behind the 3 hoodlums, Xiaopingan deliberately broke their kneecaps and spare their lives. His purpose was to let the gang behind the 3 hoodlums find him. As for the reason, it was not enough to just rob 3 hoodlums. His skin color and hair were very conspicuous. Since he walked all the way from the place where the incident happened, he didn't hide. Those hoodlums' gang should be able to find him easily. Sure enough, those trash came so quickly. Xiaopingan sat down, smiled, and calmly said, "Just now I met 3 hoodlums who were robbing. I broke their kneecaps. It seems that the gang of those hoodlums came looking for me, but it doesn't matter. I'll leave after eating." Xiaopingan's calmness was beyond the restaurant manager's expectations. He looked deeply at Xiaopingan, as if he was watching a person enjoying his last dinner. "As a guest of our restaurant, I allow you to leave from the back door of our restaurant. Those people outside are members of the BG gang. They are ruthless and can do anything. I'm sorry, this is all we can do. Thank you." Xiaopingan leisurely picked up his coffee. After drinking 3 cups of coffee, Xiaopingan stood up. A burly restaurant waiter came over. "You should have a restroom here. I want to go to the restroom," Xiaopingan said. The restaurant waiter looked at the restaurant manager in the distance. The restaurant manager looked at the time. There were about 10 minutes before he allowed Xiaopingan to stay in the restaurant, so he nodded slightly. Then, Xiaopingan was escorted to the restroom by the restaurant waiter. The waiter seemed to think that Xiaopingan wanted to play some tricks. He followed Xiaopingan closely and stared at Xiaopingan. But Xiaopingan really wanted to go to the restroom to relieve himself. After staying in the restroom for less than 5 minutes, Xiaopingan finished relieving himself, washed his hands, and wiped his face. Then, under the waiter's escort, he walked to the back door of the restaurant through an aisle next to the restaurant's kitchen. Opening the back door, there was a desolate alley outside. There were a few rubbish bins and a few dusty cars in the alley. The restaurant manager was already waiting here. There were only 3 minutes left before the 20 minutes he gave Xiaopingan. "Sir, good luck," the restaurant manager said. "Thank you. The lamb leg here is good. I will try other dishes next time." After Xiaopingan finished speaking, he stretched his arms and legs. Without any nonsense, he directly took out his Glock pistol in front of the restaurant manager and checked the pistol's magazine. Then he calmly walked out the back door and turned into the alley outside the back door. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of the restaurant manager and the waiter. "Boss, this guy is a tough nut to crack," the waiter who had been accompanying Xiaopingan to the restroom said to the restaurant manager. When this guy was in the restroom, he was still in the mood to whistle while squatting on the toilet bowl. He even gave me an expired newspaper. He is a tough nut to crack if he can survive. The restaurant manager squinted at the direction where Xiaopingan had disappeared. How many people did BG gang send? 13, all with weapons. It looks like they are ready to kill. If that guy can leave alive, I will treat him to red wine from a first-class Bordeaux, Chateau, the next time he comes. The restaurant manager shrugged and asked someone to close the back door. Almost at the same time, when the restaurant's back door was closed, a series of crisp gunshots came from the alley not far away. Both sides had exchanged fire. Someone had fired. That black-haired guy is probably finished. Later, inform Libra's corpse collection team to collect the body. The restaurant manager sighed regretfully. I actually quite admire that black-haired guy. He is very brave. In the alley, 3 gangsters who had been shot in the head fell to the ground. Blood gradually spread on the ground and dyed the ground red. The 3 hooligans all had pistols in their hands. But just now, the moment they saw Xiao Pingon, both sides started to shoot at each other. They had just raised their hands, but before they could fire a few shots, Xiao Pingon had already blasted their heads off with 3 accurate shots while running. As soon as the 3 gangsters fell, Xiao Pingon had already rushed over and stood behind a wall behind the 3 gangsters. He waited quietly and listened attentively. The moment the gunshots rang out, there was a loud roar and the sound of running footsteps on the street outside. In the blink of an eye, a gang member in a black sweater and a gang member in a blue sweater rushed into the alley from outside. The 2 guys rushed in too quickly. As soon as they rushed into the alley, they saw the 3 bodies on the ground in front of them. The 2 gangsters were shocked. One of them held an AK in his hand and directly raised the muzzle to shoot at the front of the alley. The car windows and hiding places in front of the alley were smashed into pieces and sparks flew everywhere. The other gangster didn't even see anyone. He quickly hid behind a trash can and reached out his hand from behind the trash can. He randomly fired 2 shots at the pile of debris in the alley in front of him. Was this the quality of these gangsters? To be honest, these gangsters could only bully the weak when there were many of them. When it came to fighting skills, they were trash. Xiao Pingon was too lazy to talk nonsense. Standing behind the 2, he raised his pistol and fired 2 shots. He directly blew up the 2 gangsters' heads again. The 2 gangsters fell down. They didn't know how they died. They didn't know why the bullets came from behind. Xiao Pingon rushed in front of the gangster in the blue sweater and picked up the AK submachine gun in the gangster's hand. The magazine of the AK submachine gun had been modified. The original magazine of the AK had a capacity of 30 rounds. However, the magazine of the AK in front of him had been replaced with a modified drum full of gangster style. The huge drum was hollow on one side. At a glance, one could see that the drum was filled with orange-yellow bullets. Such a drum could hold almost 100 rounds. Xiao Pingon took the AK and directly rushed out of the alley. Chapter 469. Just as Xiao Pingon rushed out of the alley, the members of the BG gang on the street 100 meters away suddenly surrounded him. There were a total of 8 people, 3 on the left side of the street and 5 on the right side of the street. Each of them was holding a weapon in their hands. The 8 hoodlums heard the gunshots and rushed over. When they saw Xiao Pingon rushing out of the alley, they were shocked. One by one, they raised the guns in their hands and shot at Xiao Pingon. A fierce gunfight broke out on the street at once. The 8 gangsters for pistols and 4 automatic weapons fired at Zhang Tai like water splashing over water. When he saw the 8 people, Xiao Pingon had already thrown himself behind a tall sycamore tree. The bullets hit the sycamore tree, causing sawdust and leaves to fall down. The ground, walls, and an abandoned shop around the sycamore tree were also hit by the bullets, leaving large craters. Fortunately, this sycamore tree was old and its trunk was very thick. There were a lot of sycamore trees on the streets of Paris. The bullets couldn't penetrate the trunk of this sycamore tree, which was several feet in diameter, and cause Xiao Pingon any harm. Debris flew around Xiao Pingon like snowflakes. He held the AK in his hand and silently listened to the rhythm of the incoming bullets. The 4 automatic weapons on the other side were all firing at the same time. They did not pay attention to any coordination and were completely a motley crew. When the bullets in the automatic weapons ran out, the time to reload was when the enemy's firepower weakened. That was the window of time for him to counterattack. Enredo, let's surround them, kill that black-haired guy. Damn it, Harry and the other 4 were killed in the alley just now. Were they killed? The gangsters of the BG gang shouted on the street. They wanted to surround Zhang Tai from both sides, relying on their advantage in numbers and firepower. A group of people shouted and shouted on the street. The opportunity that Xiao Pingon was waiting for soon arrived. When the first submachine gun ran out of bullets and was ready to change the magazine, The other 3 submachine guns also ran out of bullets at almost the same time. The firepower that suppressed Xia Pinggan suddenly weakened a lot. Xia Pinggan suddenly came out from behind the sycamore tree, holding the heavy AK steadily like a pair of iron pliers. He put his face on the front of the gun and aimed at the front of the gun. He was terrifyingly calm. Suddenly, he shot fiercely at the 5 people who rushed to the front. Da, 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 da. After a round of bullets, 2 of the 5 gangsters who rushed to the front fell down at once. Their heads exploded, and the brain matter flew onto the faces of the people next to them. The remaining 3 fell to the ground in horror, rolling and crawling to hide behind car. They raised their guns and didn't dare to turn their heads. They just shot randomly, not caring where the bullets hit. When the other 3 saw Xia Pinggan suddenly come out and shoot 2 of their own people, they were also shocked. They hurriedly hid behind the obstacles around them, and then shot randomly at Xia Pinggan without showing their heads. Da, 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 da. The AK in Xia Pinggan's hand was full of bullets. He kept shooting, suppressing the remaining gangsters behind 2 cars and a wall. They didn't dare to show their heads at all. One of the gangsters didn't show his head from behind the car. He just stretched out his hand and shot at them with a gun. Just as he stretched out his hand, one of Xia Pinggan's bullets broke his wrist. His hand was a bloody mess, and he screamed loudly. My hand! My hand! Up! The gangster screams were particularly ear-piercing among the gunshots, like the wailing of ghosts. The power of the AK was too great. At such a close distance, the 7.62mm rifle bullet had a terrifying lethality when it hit a person. The bullet burrowed into the person's body and burst out a fist-sized hole. On the other side, a gangster had just stretched half of his submachine gun out from the corner of the wall when a bullet directly hit the body of the gun. The gun fell from the gangster's hand, and the gun's parts scattered. Behind a wall, a gangster who had just reloaded his submachine gun mustered up the courage to reveal half of his body and shoot at Xia Pinggan. However, as soon as he came out, his skull was instantly blown away by a bullet, and he fell to the corner of the wall. The remaining gangsters were shocked. Compared to them, such accurate shooting was like heaven and earth. Even the elite French special forces who protected the government's evacuation may not have such terrifying shooting standards. A gangster behind the car took out a grenade and threw it at Xia Pinggan from behind the car. However, just as the grenade appeared on the roof of the car, Xia Pinggan had already locked onto it. A string of bullets shot at it, and the grenade exploded in the air. Boom! The grenade exploded on top of the car. The gangster hiding behind the car was directly hit by his own grenade. He screamed and rolled out from behind the car with a face full of glass shards. Then he was shot in the head. Xia Pinggan moved quickly on the street, holding his gun and shooting accurately. He was like a machine, terrifyingly calm. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Just one gun was enough to suppress the firepower of the gangsters, making them not even dare to stick their heads out from behind the obstacles. Halfway through, Xia Pinggan held the gun in one hand and kept shooting. His other hand directly took out a grenade from before, opened the safety of the grenade, and threw it along the ground, hiding behind a wall. Boom! With a loud explosion, flames and smoke fiercely spewed out. 2 gangsters hiding behind the wall were blown out from behind the wall by the grenade. Xia Pinggan was on the street, and with one gun each, he directly shot the gangsters until they couldn't raise their heads. Xia Pinggan crushed them all along the way, using bullets and accurate shooting to complete the suppression. Then, he bypassed the obstacles that the remaining gangsters were hiding behind and appeared on the side of the obstacles. Like a hunter hunting his prey, he shot the gangsters who were hiding behind the obstacles and randomly shooting outside. When the last gangster saw Xia Pinggan killing all his companions on the street, that gangster was terrified. He screamed, turned around, and ran for behind a sycamore tree. Xia Pinggan chased after him for 2 steps and stood on the street. Looking in the direction that the gangster ran, he raised the gun barrel and shot a bullet. That gangster had already run more than 50 meters, but a bullet still went through his head and he rolled on the street. The gunshots that had been ringing just now finally stopped. There was no one on the surrounding streets. When the gunshots rang out, everyone had hidden. The barrel of the AK was smoking. At this time, there were only a dozen bullets left in the full magazine. In a more than 200 meters long street, in the alley, the gangsters of the BG gang all fell to the ground. Xiao Pingan held the AK and looked around. There was no enemy around. He even heard groans. Xiao Pingan walked in the direction of the groans. He saw that one of the gangsters that had been blown out from behind the wall by his grenade was still alive. The shrapnel of the grenade had left 7 or 8 wounds on that gangster's body. The most fatal wound was on his abdomen. That gangster covered his abdomen in vein. Like an earthworm exposed to the sun, he was writhing on the ground and gasping for breath. His lifeless eyes were looking at the sky. There was already a big pool of blood under that person's body. With such a wound, if he could be sent to the emergency room immediately, there would be a chance for him to survive. However, there was no emergency room in Paris at this moment. Even if there was one, the medical resources would not be used to save a small member of the BG gang. Therefore, this guy could only wait for his death. He could only wait for his blood to run dry and then slowly die. Xiao Pingan calmly walked in front of that gangster. That gangster looked at Xiao Pingan, who was walking towards him with a gun, in horror. "Where is the headquarters of the BG gang? How many people do you have?" Xiao Pingan calmly asked. The gangster widened his eyes and looked at Xiao Pingan, who was looking down at him. He opened his mouth and gasped for breath. However, he tightly pursed his lips and did not say a word. Xiao Pingan fired a shot at his right knee. The gangster's right knee was directly smashed. After the shot, his right knee was only 2/3 of the way down. That gangster rolled and writhed on the ground in pain. "Where is the headquarters of the BG gang? How many people do you have?" Xiao Pingan continued to ask calmly. The muzzle of the gun was aimed at the gangster's left knee. "In the square building at number 26 Bruno Street. The BG gang has more than 200 people." That gangster finally gave in. Xiao Pingan calmly fired another shot at the gangster's head, ending his pain in advance. The whole street suddenly became quiet. Chapter 470. Xiao Pingan quickly collected the loot. For these hooligans, the spoils of war were placed in conspicuous places. They didn't even need to look for them to find the gold chains on their necks, the gold rings on their hands, the famous watches and bracelets on their wrists. Even if they had some money, they would just put it in their pockets and find it easily. 5 watches of different prices, 8 gold chains, diamond rings, bracelets, and the like, plus an emerald pendant and more than 21,000 euros in cash. These were the loot from the 13 gangsters. Xiao Pingan searched them as fast as he could and then put them all into his pocket. As for weapons, there were many. These gangsters had a variety of weapons. The Glock that Xiao Pingan seized before didn't have many bullets left, so he didn't use it anymore. He replaced it with a Beretta 92F. Among the dead gangsters, 3 of them used Beretta 92F. They had 8 magazines and enough bullets. A gangster with a headshot also had a multi-purpose tactical vest, which was equipped by the Special Forces. Xiao Pingan took it off and put it on under his windbreaker. Xiao Pingan also switched out the AK because there weren't many bullets left in the AK's magazine. The other hoodlums also didn't have any AK bullets on them. However, there were 2 hoodlums who had 2 HK 416C in their hands and several magazines on them. Xiao Pingan switched to a HK 416C short-barreled assault rifle and hid the HK 416C in his windbreaker. Because the gun's body wasn't long, it couldn't be seen from the outside. While searching, Xiao Pingan used the weapons he picked up to fire a few shots from time to time. Hearing the gunshots, the surrounding people on the street thought that the battle wasn't over, so no one dared to show their heads. By the time Xiao Pingan finished searching, only 3 or 4 minutes had passed. Xiao Pingan picked up the last pistol and fired at a wall. Then he dropped the pistol and touched his loot. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into an alley. After waiting for a few minutes, they heard that there were no more gunshots. A few bodyguards came out of the restaurant where Xiao Pingan had just eaten and came to the street to take a look. The scene shocked the people who came to investigate. manager, the 13 BG gang members were all killed. There were 5 of them in the alley outside the back door of a restaurant and 8 on Gray Street outside the alley. None of them escaped. The bodyguards who came out to check the situation reported to the restaurant manager, who was smoking a cigar. What? The restaurant manager was stunned. His hand holding the cigar trembled slightly, and the cigar almost fell to the ground. Where's the black-haired Chinese guy? He's gone. He should have left. How were those people killed? Is that black-haired guy a summoner? The restaurant manager stood up from behind the table. I've checked those corpses. They were all killed by bullets. Many of them were shot in the head. That black-haired Chinese guy might be a top professional killer. Only a top professional killer could kill so many people in such a short time. The bodyguard replied, "Those sons of cheese from BG Gang have met a tough opponent this time." The restaurant manager suddenly laughed. He took another puff of the cigar and exhaled smoke. Inform Libra to collect the corpses quickly. Those corpses' corneas should be able to be sold for more money. At this moment, there were many corpse-collecting teams on the streets of Paris. Their job was to keep the market clean like the vultures on the grassland. As for the profit of the corpse-collecting teams, that was the organs of the corpses. The corpses' corneas could be kept for several hours. As for the other organs, it depended on luck. Those that could be taken out within 15 minutes were of good quality. Those that could be taken out within 15 minutes would be of inferior quality. Those that could be taken out within half an hour would be basically useless. Less than 10 minutes after Xiao Pingan left this neighborhood, several vans with red crosses painted on their bodies rushed to the fighting neighborhood. Some white robes and protective suits got off the vans. The corpses on the ground were quickly carried into the vans. There was an operating table in the vans. Doctors wearing goggles, rubber gloves, and surgical gowns with scalpels were waiting in the vans like butchers. Once the corpses were in the vans, they were carried to the operating table. After checking the corpses, the doctors quickly took out the usable organs from the corpses and put them in special refrigerated organ boxes. After the vans arrived, there were no corpses on the street in a few minutes. Even the blood sacrifice had been cleaned up. The ground had been disinfected. The corpse-collecting teams were very efficient and professional. These guys are so fast. On the rooftop of a nearby building, Xiao Pingan was lying on his stomach. He was observing the people coming out of the white vans through the scope of his assault rifle. Due to the angle, when the door of one of the vans was opened, it was facing his direction. He could even see the operating table in the van, and the people in the van were taking out organs, kidneys, hearts, corneas. Everything that could be used was taken out quickly. Xiao Pingan didn't leave. Originally, he wanted to ambush the gangsters of BG Gang again. However, he didn't expect that the first to arrive here would be such a professional corpse-collecting team. Xiao Pingan turned his head and looked at the iron tower in the distance. Then, he looked at the professional corpse-collecting team in the van in front of him. The last bit of the so-called romantic city completely collapsed in Xiao Pingan's heart. As the white vans left, Xiao Pingan put away his gun and left the rooftop of the apartment building. He slowly climbed down the fire escape ladder behind a wall in the alley behind the apartment building. However, Xiao Pingan didn't go far. When he climbed to the 4th floor, he saw that the glass of a window beside the fire escape ladder was broken. The curtains inside the window weren't closed either. Obviously, no one lived in this apartment. Xiao Pingan reached out to open the window and entered the apartment through the fire escape ladder. The apartment wasn't old. It was about 70 or 80 square meters. However, it was obvious that no one lived here for a long time. The door of the apartment was locked. The things in the apartment were a bit messy. Thieves might have ransacked the place. Especially the things in the apartment's kitchen. They were in a mess. There wasn't even a bottle of seasoning left. There was some dust on the floor of the apartment. Some messy footprints could be seen extending from the window. Xiao Pingan stayed in the apartment for the time being and didn't run around. What he needed most now was time to recover his strength. Before he recovered his strength, he could keep a low profile for the time being. He didn't need to be too conspicuous. As for the BG Gang, in Xiao Pingan's eyes, they were like ants and shit. He didn't need to hurry to find trouble with the BG Gang. With his current speed of recovery, It would make a big difference to him whether he went there one day earlier or one day later. He didn't need to worry about the Chinese community in Paris for the time being. Since the Chinese community in Paris could survive for such a long time in such a chaotic city, they naturally had their own ways of survival. It didn't matter if he stayed there for a few days. His top priority now was to take care of himself, eat his fill, wait quietly, and recover his strength. When the spirit and the body merged, proper exercise would accelerate the merging speed and allow the body to adapt to the changes of the spirit more quickly. He had just killed so many people from the BG gang. Those people from the BG gang would soon know the news. They would definitely go crazy looking for him everywhere. At this time, no one would think that after he killed so many people from the BG gang outside, he didn't actually leave. Instead, he found a place nearby to settle down. After checking the room, Xiao Pingon cleared out a clean place in the room. He took off his coat and put away the tactical vest and the weapons. Then, he started to exercise silently in the room. He slowly started to practice boxing. Boxing could accelerate the body's metabolism and blood circulation. Along with the changes in the body, the ligaments, meridians, muscles, and bones of the body were pulled apart little by little. After only 10 minutes, Xiao Pingon was sweating profusely. His body was steaming hot. After half an hour, Xiao Pingon's skin started to turn red. His eyes became brighter and brighter. The speed and strength of his punches and kicks gradually increased. After an hour, Xiao Pingon started to slow down his movements. In the end, he completely calmed down. He closed his eyes to rest, recuperate, and regulate his breathing. After more than half an hour, Xiao Pingon recovered his energy and started to practice boxing slowly again. He started from shallow to deep until his whole body was steaming hot like a steamer. Then, he slowly calmed down and closed his eyes to recuperate and regulate his breathing. Just like that, he only did it 4 times. 7 or 8 hours had passed. Xiao Pingon's stomach started to growl again. He felt hungry and thirsty again. After an entire afternoon of training, the results were amazing. Xiao Pingon felt that his connection with the secret mandala had become closer. Previously, he had only sensed the summoning totem of the 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Pearls. Now, the connection between the 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Pearls had completely stabilized, and he could also sense the summoning totem of the Slave Soldier Realm Pearl. The Realm Pearl that summoned the Black Dragon was also faintly discernible. He could vaguely feel that the divine power he could mobilize had reached about 90 points, and his physical fitness had also been further strengthened. Although it was still not very smooth, he could almost summon elite slave soldiers. This made Xiao Pingon feel refreshed. The feeling of becoming a summoner seemed to have returned. What Xiao Pingon wanted most now was to eat a good meal to further replenish his body's calories and energy consumption. Then, he could take a comfortable hot bath. Perhaps when he woke up tomorrow morning, everything would be different. Chapter 471. With his stomach rumbling, Xiao Pingon took his weapon and put on his clothes. He left the apartment through the escape ladder and came to the alley behind the apartment. He walked out of the alley and turned a corner. The restaurant that he had lunch at appeared in front of him. At this moment, the sun had set in Paris and the sky was gradually getting dark. There were fewer pedestrians on the street. Not a single street lamp was lit. There were not many places in the city that still had electricity. Gunshots could be heard from other places in the city from time to time. The neon sign at the entrance of the restaurant was even more dazzling. Several cars were parked at the entrance of the restaurant. Those cars were not there before. When Xiao Pingon came to the entrance of the restaurant again, the bodyguards at the entrance of the restaurant were shocked to see Xiao Pingon again. They naturally remembered Xiao Pingon. Even if they did not know him before, they knew him now. They all stared at Xiao Pingon. They did not expect that Xiao Pingon would come to the restaurant for lunch. 2 bodyguards were even a little nervous. They did not know what Xiao Pingon wanted to do. One of their hands had already touched the safety of the weapon they carried. After all, a few hours ago, Xiao Pingon had killed 13 members of the bird gang outside their restaurant. The bodyguards of the restaurant had tacitly agreed that Xiao Pingon was a top killer. Xiao Pingan acted as if he didn't see the nervous expressions of the bodyguards. Just like before, he took out a gold watch and handed it to the waiter at the entrance of the restaurant, who looked at him nervously. According to the value of this watch, give me a high-calorie food. Seeing that Xiao Pingan was here for lunch, the waiter and the surrounding bodyguards were slightly relieved. Okay, sir, please follow me. As soon as Xiao Pingan entered the restaurant, a bodyguard immediately took out his walkie-talkie and reported the situation to the restaurant. The black-haired killer was here again. Entering the restaurant, the aroma of French dishes permeated the air. At this time, there were more people in the restaurant than when Xiao Pingan had come before. No matter how chaotic this city was, no matter how many people could not eat their fill, in this city, there would always be people who could live a good life, and there would always be people who could grasp more resources and come here to enjoy a good meal. Not long after entering the dining hall, another waiter in a waistcoat and a shirt came up to him as he threw a glance at the waiter who brought Xiao Pingan in. Bernard, leave this mister to me. His dinner will be sent to number 6 hall later. Okay. The new waiter didn't take Xiao Pingan to the crowded hall. Instead, he led Xiao Pingan through a corridor in the restaurant and came to a more tranquil and high-class box. Soon after Xiao Pingan sat down, the appetizer was served. It was mayonnaise and French oysters. The waiter also brought a bottle of red wine. He opened the bottle of red wine in front of Xiao Pingan and poured it into the wine separator. After that, he gently shook the separator to sober Xiao Pingan up. Sir, this is a gift from the first-class Bordeaux Chateau by our restaurant manager. You can enjoy yourself here tonight. Oh, thank you. This was the principle of the wolf conquers the world. People with ability, even if they had the ability to kill, would be respected wherever they went. After finishing the appetizer, there was thick soup, snails as a side dish, and a large steak as the main course, followed by snow, vegetables, desserts, and coffee. It was very sumptuous. Enjoying these delicacies and drinking good wine, Xiao Pingan found that his body was active again. The slave soldier realm bead, which was not stable before, gradually stabilized, and the black dragon realm bead's reaction became clearer. The stability of the realm bead was followed by a stable supply of divine power. After drinking the red wine, there was no feeling of drunkenness. Instead, it was quickly absorbed and broken down by the body. After Xiao Pingan finished a bottle of red wine, he only felt a slight heat on his face. His mind was very clear, and the more he drank, the more spirited he became. This meal was more sumptuous than the previous one. This meal took more than an hour. After finishing all the dinner, the waiter removed the tableware. Then, the door of the private room opened. The restaurant manager, whom he had seen before, walked into the private room with a smile. 2 bodyguards stood at the door and closed the door. Sir, I think we can officially get to know each other now. I am the manager of this Chez Terroir restaurant. My name is Gabriel. Chez Terroir restaurant, and I belong to the largest autonomous organization in the nearby districts, the Paris People's Front. How should I address you, sir? This restaurant can still do business in Paris at this time. Sure enough, it has a background, Xiao Pingan said in his heart. You can call me Luoan, Xiao Pingan replied. Mr. Luoan, can we sit down and talk? Please sit down. Gabriel then sat directly next to Xiao Pingan and spread out his hands. Mr. Luoan, you should be able to feel that we have no malicious intentions towards you. This should be the premise for us to communicate. The wine you gave me is very good. If you have something to say, just say it. Gabriel squinted his eyes and looked at Xiao Pingan's face. Please forgive me for asking, Mr. Luoan, are you a professional killer? Xiao Pingan smiled slightly. Well, you can say that. I usually don't kill people, but sometimes I have to send some garbage to God. Those people from the BG gang have gone crazy. They have been looking for you everywhere this afternoon. I think you should know that, right? Well, I know. If they don't look for me, then they are really crazy. I want to make a deal with you, Mr. Luoan. Oh, what kind of deal? The boss of the BG gang is called Oni. He is a complete scum of society. He rapes, steals, takes drugs, kills, and uses bloody means to control and coerce the women he abducts into prostitution. He stops at nothing. If you can kill him, We will give you an objective reward. You can live a very leisurely life in Paris for a very long time. I believe that this is an acceptable task for you. Now that BG Gang has issued a kill order for you. As long as Oni is dead, BG Gang will fall apart, and this gang's threat to you will be removed. This is beneficial to both of us. Gabriel said directly as he tapped the table with his hand that was wearing a large gold ring. BG Gang has issued a kill order for you. As long as Oni is dead, BG Gang will fall apart. Is it you or the organization behind you that wants Oni's life? What's the difference? Gabriel shook his head and sighed. The BG Gang controls a territory. Those gang members do not follow the rules. They multiply in the city like cancer cells and bedbugs in the sewers, creating misfortune and chaos. They're the unstable factor of this city. The People's Front hopes that this city can return to normal and order as soon as possible. There will be less trash like the BG Gang and Oni. Have you thought about killing him before? We have thought about it. I've thought about it, but it's not easy. Although Oni is a scumbag, he's very nervous about his life, so it's not easy for him to find an opportunity to strike. Moreover, the BG Gang isn't the only cancer cell in this city. There are many cancer cells in this city, and the cancer cells are connected to each other. Do you understand what I mean? If one of our people kills Oni, it will instigate a gang war and cause a huge mess. If someone else kills him, it will have nothing to do with us, and we can safely take over the BG Gang's territory. Coincidentally, you have the ability to do so, and you're the sworn enemy of the BG Gang. You're the best candidate. You are the best choice. Xiao understood. So that was the case. This was a gang war. Gabriel wanted him to do the job of the killer so that he and the organization behind him would not have to bear the responsibility. Moreover, the BG Gang was closely related to other gangs. They had a good reason to ask him to do the job. The other cancer cells related to the BG Gang are attacking the Chinese community in Paris at the moment. They want to stage a robbery and massacre in District 11. We just received news that Oni has been persuaded. The BG Gang may send people to participate in the battle in District 11 and provide material support to the other gangs attacking the Chinese community in District 11. If Oni dies, it will be good news for District 11. Mr. Luo and should have people and friends in District 11. Gabriel added. It had to be said that Gabriel was very good at manipulating people. In addition to benefits, he directly brought out Xia Ping'an's racial standpoint. It seemed that if Xia Ping'an did not accept the job, it would be like betraying his own skin color. Xia Ping'an glanced at Gabriel and pondered for a while. How much are you going to pay me to do this? 2 kilograms of gold bars should be enough. Gold is the most useful thing in Paris now. As long as we confirm Oni's death, you can come to the restaurant and take away the 2 kilograms of gold. 2 kilograms of gold was indeed a lot. With this amount of gold, he should be able to complete the integration of his spiritual body steadily. More importantly, the BG Gang was now fighting him to the death. Even without the gold, he was prepared to continue harvesting the trash of the BG Gang. Therefore, this was just a side benefit. Okay, I'll do it. Xiao Ping'an nodded. A fervent smile appeared on Gabriel's face. He reached into the pocket of his suit and took out a photo, placing it in front of Xiao Ping'an. This person is Oni. He usually lives in the BG Gang's base and has many bodyguards around him. He's cunning and vicious. Xiao Ping'an looked at the photo on the table. The person in the photo was a man standing in front of a black car. The man was bald and strong. There were snake tattoos on his neck and the left side of his face, as well as on his shiny head. The bald man's eyes were a little red, and there was a nose ring on his nostrils. He gave off a tyrannical aura from head to toe. At first glance, one could tell that he was not a good person. Xiao Ping'an put the photo away and asked casually, "Is there anyone powerful around Oni?" Gabriel lowered his voice and revealed a solemn expression. As far as we know, Oni has a bodyguard called Serene. He may have integrated 2 realm pearls and is very powerful. He is only 1 step away from becoming a summoner. That person is very difficult to deal with. 2 realm pearls. That's right. That's why the BG Gang has been looking for realm pearls everywhere recently. They want Serene to become a summoner. Okay, I got it. Chapter 472. When Xiaopingan left the Chez Terroir restaurant, it was completely dark outside. The entire Paris was shrouded in darkness. At this time, the pedestrians on the streets could barely be seen. In the quiet night, the gunshots reverberating in the city were more ear-piercing and numbing. In the southeast, the gunshots seemed to be more intense, as if a battle was going on. The sky was illuminated by the flickering flames on the ground. That was the 11th arrondissement of Paris, in the direction of the Avenue de la République and the Avenue de la Voltaire. According to Gabriel, the gangs of Paris were attacking the Chinese community in the 11th arrondissement of Paris at night. Xiaopingan squinted his eyes for a while before pulling up the collar of his windbreaker and rapidly disappearing into the darkness. With the gradual recovery of his strength, Xiaopingan felt that his divine power seemed to be more stable after this big meal. His night vision as a summoner gradually recovered. Therefore, the dark streets were no obstacle for him. He could already clearly see the things hidden in the dark streets, the sewage on the ground, the wandering stray cats, the ruins after the chaos, and the various people who quietly appeared in the corners of the dark streets, gangsters, drug dealers, and those women who relied on their bodies to make a living. There was a chill in the night wind, but the women shivered as they exposed their pale thighs, backs, or chests, waiting for customers to come. Due to the lack of supplies, many women's makeup was much plainer. Some even didn't make up at all. Women who could wear heavy makeup at this time must be extraordinary in Paris. Xiaopingan passed through the dark streets and alleys, avoiding those who he didn't want to meet, and prepared to return to the small hotel. Although the small hotel was very shabby, it was a civilian area and was relatively peaceful. With the protection of the security team, those people from BG Gang couldn't enter. No one would think that a killer would live in such a place. Keisha, the owner of the hotel, sat listlessly at the door of the deserted hotel. He was full of self-blame and chagrin. That guy must have run away. How could I believe him? What's in his room worth? It's just a pile of junk. Has the painter become a liar? While Keisha was blaming himself, he saw Xiaopingan in a black windbreaker walking towards him from the street outside. His steps were steady and nimble. Keisha almost jumped up at once. You're back. Keisha moved closer to Xiaopingan. His shrewd eyes and sniffed Xiaopingan's body. His eyes were full of doubts. You have the smell of cream bacon. You made money? This guy's dog nose was really sharp. Xiaopingan nodded solemnly. I found a job in a restaurant and earned some money. Xiaopingan said as he reached into his pocket and took out 200 euros. He handed it to Jesse, the owner of the hotel. Pay some rent first. I'll slowly pay you back later when I work. Euros were no longer useful in Paris at this moment. It wasn't that they couldn't be used. It was just that their value was greatly reduced. Many things that could be bought with 10 euros could now be bought with dozens of euros. Euros were no longer useful in Paris, but they could be used in many places outside of Paris. This created a lot of arbitrage space for people with connections. Actually, Xiaopingan could easily pay off all the bills with his money. However, it would be too suspicious. How could an ordinary person make so much money just by strolling around outside for a day? Therefore, 200 euros was a figure that could satisfy the innkeeper without causing any unnecessary trouble. Keisha took the money from Xiaopingan. He squinted his eyes and carefully checked the money under the lamp. After confirming that it wasn't fake, he finally revealed a smile. He didn't even notice that Xiaopingan's windbreaker was almost fully buttoned up. Naturally, he didn't expect that Xiaopingan had a tactical vest and long and short weapons in his windbreaker. Keisha put the money into his pocket at once. After that, he quickly withdrew his smile and put on a serious look. Ahem, this money is far from enough. You still need to pay me 2,600 euros to pay off your bill. I'll pay you back while making money. Xiaopingan smiled. I'll pay you back eventually. Don't forget that there's a new bill. I'll calculate it for you. Okay, no problem. Can you turn on the water pipe today? I want to take a bath. Hearing that Xiaopingan wanted to take a bath, Keisha raised his eyebrows and raised his voice. You want to take a bath? Do you know how expensive water is in the civilian district? I know. Just put on the bill first. I've been working for a whole day. I'm sweating all over. If I'm still like this tomorrow, I might not be able to stay in the restaurant for long. You know, the restaurant needs us to be clean and decent. If I lose my job, I won't be able to pay off your rent. Keisha's expression changed a bit. Finally, he nodded. I'll turn on the water pipe for you for 10 minutes. Then, I'll put on the bill for you. Okay. Xiao Pingan nodded. Then, he went upstairs and unlocked his room. Before leaving the room, Xiao Pingan had made some small decorations on the floor. When he came back, he found that the decorations were still intact. This meant that nobody had entered the room after he left. Therefore, it was still safe here. After Xiao Pingan took off his clothes, he entered the bathroom and knocked on the water pipe with an empty beer bottle. Garcia, who was below, finally turned on the faucet. He didn't forget to shout from below, 10 minutes. I'll remember the time for you. Not a second more. The shower head finally sprayed water. Although it was cold water, it still made Zhang Tai feel refreshed. Xiao Pingan washed off the dirt on his body in the water and took 9 minutes to finish his bath. The water droplets in a bathroom were really turned off 2 seconds before the 10-minute mark. Not even a second more. Damn. Granddad almost shed tears when he saw the hotel owner. Xiao Pingan wiped off the water droplets on his body. Then, he returned to his room and put on his clothes. Although Luoan was down and out, he was still a bit of a clean freak. The clothes in his wardrobe were all cleaned up, and there was even a faint smell of camphor. After putting on his clothes, Xiao Pingan placed his gun beside his pillow and fell asleep quietly. Other than the sound of gunfire, the night was silent. Early in the morning of the next day, before the sky even brightened, Xiao Pingan was woken up by his stomach growling with hunger. After a night's rest, Xiao Pingan woke up and sensed the secret mandala. The Black Dragon Realm Pearl had stabilized, and the Net Realm Pearl was almost ready to be used. The divine power he could sense had already reached about 150 points. Compared to yesterday, his overall strength was indeed much stronger. He couldn't stay in this small inn anymore. If he stayed here, if something happened to his original body and he had to return to the undying city, it was too unsafe for this body to sleep here for 2 to 3 days. Who knows, this body might be buried alive or cremated by the owner of the inn. This small inn, any few hoodlums could barge in and mess up his plans. Therefore, after yesterday's exploration and torment, after accumulating some wealth in his hands, Xiao Pingan was prepared to find a safe place to stay in Paris today in case he suddenly had to leave. This doppelganger that he had found with great difficulty didn't even have a safe place to settle down, and it had been ruined by others. After waking up, Xiao Pingan put on his clothes. After washing up, he put on a black painter's hat and left 3,000 euros in cash on the table in the room. Then, he left the small hotel. As long as he did not return in 3 days, the hotel owner would definitely open the door to his room. As for the BG gang, they were just like ants. Xiao Pingan was not in a hurry. He would think about it after he settled down. Luo and had a lot of useful information in his mind. When he was studying painting in Paris, he was also a tutor and painting teacher for some rich families. He had villas in many places in Paris, such as the Louvre Museum in the city center and the Notre Dame Cathedral in the suburbs of Paris. In order to avoid space invasion, some rich people often built shelters and safe houses in the basements of their villas. Some shelters and safe houses had very high safety levels, which could even withstand the impact of nuclear bombs. If he could find such a villa to settle down, the problem of his doppelganger would be solved. In the information in Luoan's mind, there was indeed such a villa. That villa was a bit far from here. It was in Pierrefitte on the bank of the Seine River. The owners of the villa were a rich old French couple. They had a daughter. As Luoan was their daughter's art teacher, he had visited the underground safe house and wine cellar of the villa. Therefore, he had a deep impression of it. When Xiao Pingan left the inn, the innkeeper, Garcia, was still snoring in his room. Xiao Pingan could even hear his snoring at the door, so he didn't have to grumble anymore. Before dawn, some people in the civilian district had already woken up and started working. Some shops were already ready to open. Xiao Pingon touched his stomach. He was too hungry, so he had to find a reliable bakery to eat something to replenish his energy. 1 hour later, Xiao Pingon paid 60 euros and had a breakfast of cream almond bread and a bottle of milk. After that, he walked out of the bakery. At this time, the sky was completely bright. There were more pedestrians on the street. After walking 100 meters away from the breakfast shop, the roar of motorcycles came from the street behind him. 3 motorcycles slowly drove past Xiao Pingon. There were 2 people on each of the motorcycles. One was riding the motorcycles, while the other was sitting on the back seat of the motorcycles. They held weapons in their hands and constantly scanned the pedestrians on the street. The men on the motorcycles were dressed in the same style as the BG gang. All 6 of them were black, similar to the 3 gangsters who robbed Xiao Pingon yesterday. As Xiao Pingon was wearing a hat to cover his black hair, the 3 motorcycles didn't notice anything unusual about Xiao Pingon when they passed by him. However, when the 3 motorcycles passed by Xiao Pingon, one of the gang members sitting on the back of one of the motorcycles turned his head to look at Xiao Pingon. Then he was stunned. Xiao Pingon's Chinese face was too obvious. "Hey, kid." When the 2 sides looked at each other, the gang member's expression changed slightly, and he shouted. He had already felt something and instinctively wanted to point his gun at Xiao Pingon. However, Xiao Pingon was faster. When he saw the 3 motorcycles, he was already prepared. Before the gangster could turn his gun, Xiao Pingon raised his hand and pointed the HK 416C hidden in his windbreaker at the 6 gangsters in front of him. Half a clip of bullets swept past in the blink of an eye. The 6 gangsters on the motorcycles didn't have time to react and instantly fell into a pool of blood. All the bullets came from behind, and the 3 motorcycles slid to the ground. Gunshots rang out on the street. The surrounding people hurriedly dodged in panic. Xiao Pingon quickly ran over and searched the bodies of the 6 gangsters. He took out a few magazines, a gold watch, a chain, and made a small fortune. Then he kicked away the bodies of the 2 gangsters on one of the motorcycles. He picked up the motorcycles himself and put on a helmet. Then he raised his gun and shot the fuel tanks of the other 2 motorcycles. Da-da! Da-da! The moment the flames rose on the street, Xiao Pingon got on the motorcycles. He twisted the throttle and spun in a circle. The motorcycles roared, and his black windbreaker drew a line in the air like a pair of wings. He was incomparably elegant and at ease. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. More than 10 minutes later, a large group of BG gang members rushed here. There were more than 7 to 8 cars, more than 10 motorcycles, and a few pickup trucks. They were all filled with people. All of them were armed, murderous, and red-eyed. "Find that bastard for me." A leader of BG gang, who wore a large gold chain around his neck and had a head full of dreadlocks, roared. "I want to eat him up bit by bit." In just 2 days, BG gang had suffered heavy losses at the hands of Xiao Pingon. They were actually thrown into disarray by a black-haired brat who came out of nowhere. So many people had died. The entire BG gang was going crazy. If they didn't catch that black-haired brat and execute him in the cruelest way possible, BG gang's authority in this area would definitely disappear. Others would think that BG gang was weak and that BG gang survival would definitely be faced with a huge threat. There would definitely be more and more people and forces that would want to challenge BG gang. They would want to take something from BG gang. This was the survival rule of gangs in this urban jungle. If they didn't give a strong response to such provocation, they would really be finished. Chez Terroir Restaurant. Manager, there's news from outside. 6 of BG gang's men were killed by that black-haired brat on Minna Street. That person even stole one of BG gang's motorcycles. BG gang has already put a bounty of 2 million euros on that person's head. 2 million euros? Gabriel, who was smoking a cigar, laughed as he sat behind the large desk. Those mad dogs from BG gang are really going crazy this time. Chapter 473. Pierrefitte was the name of a neighborhood in Paris. There was also a Pierrefitte in the department of Saint-Denis. However, they refer to different places. It was too eye-catching to ride a motorcycle in the city of Paris at this time. It was as eye-catching as driving a supercar in the city. Additionally, it would be more troublesome if there was a GPS on the motorcycle. Therefore, when he was 4 to 5 kilometers away from Pierrefitte, Xiao Pingan parked his motorcycle behind a parterre in a boisterous roadside park. After leaving the key in the vehicle, he walked towards Pierrefitte. The journey was smooth, and there were no more mishaps. About 40 minutes later, Xiao Pingan arrived at Pierrefitte. This was a rich district in Paris. This neighborhood was close to the Seine River. There was an iron arch bridge nearby. A large number of villas were built here. In this age, in order to resist space invasion, those rich people who built villas here compromised their function in terms of aesthetics. Therefore, the villas in Pierrefitte were all like small castles. Under their pointed roofs, there were solid walls made of granite, reinforced concrete, and steel everywhere. The area of windows on the walls was compressed as much as possible. The walls outside the villas were at least 3 to 4 m high, which was very solid. In order to beautify the villas, the walls of many villas were covered with perfume, jasmine, coral vines, and pineapples. Large patches of green hung down from the walls of the villas. The blooming flowers softened the hard buildings at once. Besides these plants, beautiful and elegant iron gates and fences, as well as some conspicuous sculptures, became the decorations of these hard villas. Some of the villas had already been destroyed. Xiao Pingan saw that the villas within 50 meters of this area had already disappeared, and the surroundings were all ruins. There was a large crater on the ground, and some villas had collapsed. There were some traces of fire, but there were also some villas that were still inhabited. Walking in such a neighborhood, Xiao Pingan could clearly feel pairs of vigilant eyes gazing at him from the windows of the surrounding villas. Xiao Pingan was wearing a hat. The collar of his windbreaker covered his neck and a small part of his face. Those people gazing at him from the villas could not see his face clearly. It should be here. Finally, Xiao Pingan arrived in front of the castle-like villa in his image. Everything in front of him was the same as in his memory. There were 2 marble sculptures in front of the villa, and the brown iron gate was tightly shut. Outside the gate of the villa was an avenue full of sycamore trees. Further away, there was a small pier, and the Seine River flowed calmly about 200 meters away, turning into a huge river bend. Through the gap of the gate, he could see that the courtyard inside was full of flowers and plants. Seeing that the villa in front of him did not seem to be abandoned, Xiao Pingan felt a little more at ease. He could talk to the owner of the villa first and see if he could buy or rent the villa. If that didn't work, he could think of other ways. There was a doorbell at the door of the villa and a hidden camera on the top of the door facing outside the gate. If Mr. and Mrs. Girard were still living here, they should still remember his face. Xiao Pingan walked to the door, turned his head, and faced the hidden camera. Then he pressed the doorbell of the villa. Outside the door, he could faintly hear the tinkling sound coming from the villa. Xiao Pingan pressed the doorbell twice with a 2-second interval. Then he stopped and waited outside the door quietly. After more than 10 seconds, Xiao Pingan saw a woman with wheat-colored curly hair, wearing a blue floral skirt, holding a shotgun, and leading a shepherd dog out of the villa through the crack of the door. In Xiao Pingan's memory, this woman was Emily, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Girard, who was a student of Mr. and Mrs. Girard. If Xiao Pingan's memory was correct, Emily was just 19 years old this year. When Xiao Pingan was Emily's home painting teacher, he got along very well with Mr. and Mrs. Girard and Mrs. Girard. Emily was very vigilant. She walked out of the villa and came to the gate. She opened a small side window on the iron gate, revealing half of her face to carefully look at Xiao Pingan outside. "Mr. Lu Owen, is that you?" Lu Owen had not taught painting here for almost 2 years. During these 2 years, Lu Owen's appearance had changed a bit. Therefore, the woman inside the door wanted to confirm it. "Emily, it's me. I'm here to see you," Xiao Pingan asked. After confirming that it was Xiao Pingan, the woman inside the door seemed to let out a sigh of relief. She put down the shotgun in her hand and took out a bunch of keys. "Mr. Luo, and wait a moment. I'll open the door for you right now." After the door lock was opened and the iron bolt slid, the side door of the villa was completely opened. The moment Xia Pinggan entered the villa, Emily hurriedly closed the side door and locked it from the inside. The moment Xia Pinggan came in, the shepherd dog that followed Emily became excited. It wagged its tail and stuck out its tongue as it kept circling around Xia Pinggan. Emily could not help but pat the shepherd dog's head. "Bata, don't move." Xia Pinggan glanced at the shotgun in Emily's hand. He remembered that this shotgun was part of Emily's father's collection. There were 2 of them in total. They seemed to have been placed in the wall cabinet in the small living room of the villa. "Emily, where's your father?" Xia Pinggan asked. Upon hearing this, Emily's eyes turned slightly red. "My father has already passed away." "Ah, sorry." Xia Pinggan looked apologetic. "I remember that your father has always been very healthy. I even want to pay him a visit today." "How could it be, Mr. Luo, and let's talk inside?" Emily quickly hid her emotions and put on a strong expression. She even revealed a smile. "There's still your favorite black tea at home." "Okay." Xia Pinggan followed Emily into the villa. The front door of the villa was just like the security door of a bank vault. It was about a foot thick and unusually heavy. On both sides of the front door, there was a floral window. However, the floral window was divided into many pieces by polymeric plexiglass and thick ironwork windows. The largest piece was only slightly bigger than the mouth of a bowl. Animals that were slightly bigger couldn't squeeze in. Everything was the same as 2 years ago. The villa was unusually tidy, but also gave off a cold and cheerless atmosphere. Besides Emily, there seemed to be no one else in the villa. The accident happened very suddenly. Almost as soon as Xia Pinggan entered the villa and sat down on the sofa in the living room, Emily brought him a pot of black tea. Xia Pinggan was about to ask Emily what had happened in her home when Xia Pinggan's mind suddenly trembled violently. Not good. Xia Pinggan's expression changed abruptly. This tremor was a warning from the doppelganger's secret technique. It meant that his original body in the underground secret chamber of the immortal city was trembling violently. This was the most dangerous warning. If it wasn't for the tortoise-shell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation version 2.0 in the secret chamber, and his original body was in the embryonic breathing realm and was under the protection of a soul power barrier, this kind of tremor and warning wouldn't have happened. Could it be that someone was destroying the formation and was about to invade the secret room? If his original body died, it would be very troublesome. Facing such an urgent matter, Xia Pinggan didn't even have time to say anything when he saw Emily, who had just brought him a cup of tea. Neither did he have time to make any preparations or barriers. His spiritual body directly left this body by force and interrupted the doppelganger's secret technique. His spiritual body then returned to his original body at the fastest speed. In a split second, Xia Pinggan's spiritual body trembled violently, as if entering a black hole through a space-time tunnel. Under a huge pulling force that even made his spiritual body feel pain, Xia Pinggan's figure had already appeared in the spiritual realm fortress. Furthermore, he didn't have time to explain. In the next second, Xia Pinggan's spiritual body passed through the arch of the fortress and returned to his secret spiritual realm shrine in the spiritual realm shrine. In the next second, his spiritual body merged with his original body from the secret spiritual realm shrine in the spiritual realm shrine. In the secret room, Xia Pinggan, who was sitting cross-legged on the praying mat, opened his eyes at once. His breathing and heartbeat instantly returned to normal. The entire secret room was trembling as if a train had just passed by it. Huge rumbling sounds reverberated throughout the underground room. The tortoise-shell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation was already in full operation. The 6 golden tortoises released a ball of golden light to protect the entire secret room. However, it was slightly deformed by a terrifying force from underground. Under that huge force, cracks had already appeared on the tortoise shell of the golden tortoises. Chapter 474. Xia Pinggan was also startled by the situation before his eyes. The tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation wasn't under the pressure of someone trying to break the formation, but the huge pressure coming from the rocks and earth beneath the ground. The entire ground was shaking. Xiao Pingan, who was inside the secret chamber, felt as if he was sitting on a huge ship passing through a storm. The ground around him was shaking. Rumbling sounds were coming from beneath the ground. It was very frightening. It felt as if the undying city was sinking into the abyss, or as if a powerful summoning technique was crushing the undying city with its divine country. After being stunned for a second, Xiao Pingan immediately reacted. He promptly rushed towards the secret chamber's ground. He didn't expect that the door of the secret chamber would be blocked by something heavy. He couldn't open it at once. Therefore, he directly summoned a 5-meter-tall giant. The giant's whole body was flickering with a layer of red light. The giant's head was almost touching the ceiling of the secret chamber. As soon as the giant was summoned, it roared inside the secret chamber. It started running, shaking the ground. When the giant reached the door of the secret chamber, it suddenly lowered its head. Then, it used its 2 fists and the power of its whole body to smash the door of the secret chamber. Boom! The secret chamber's safety door suddenly deformed and was blasted open. Outside the safety door, there were countless building ruins and stones. It was also blocked by a collapsed wooden beam. Therefore, it wasn't easy to open it. The house outside the secret chamber had already collapsed and was in a complete mess. Half of the giant's body stretched out of the safety door. Then it fiercely jumped out of the door and swept away several tons of ruins with its foot, completely clearing the passage to the safety door. The ground of the entire Star River Manor was shaking violently. Huge stones fell from the ceiling of the Star River Manor's cave with great destructive power, causing the ground to rumble. Xiao Pingan immediately flew out of the secret chamber. The moment he flew out of the secret chamber, Xiao Pingan waved his hand towards the secret chamber and put away the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation. It wasn't easy to refine this formation plate. Although this formation plate was somewhat damaged, it could still be repaired. It would be too wasteful to throw it away. The moment the formation plate was put away, the force supporting the secret chamber disappeared. The entire secret chamber was immediately crushed by the force coming from the ground. The alloy protective layer of the secret chamber and the stone walls were instantly shattered. Countless stones poured in from all directions, instantly submerging the secret chamber. Seeing this situation, Xiao Pingan felt a lingering fear. This was the most frightening situation when using the doppelganger secret method. The spirit body was still experiencing the customs of another world in the clone, but the main body was suddenly destroyed by force. If not for the protection of the tortoiseshell 5 elements inverted 8 trigrams sword formation, the main body's main body would have been crushed. The moment Xiao Pingan came out of the secret chamber, a huge boulder directly fell from the top of the cave, smashing towards the place where Xiao Pingan was. The giant guarding Xiao Pingan roared as it fiercely jumped up and punched the huge boulder, shattering it into pieces in the air. Rubble and dust sprinkled down from the sky like dust. Xiao Pingan recalled the giant he had summoned, dodged several huge boulders, and hurriedly rose into the air. The entire cave where the Star River Manor was located had begun to collapse. All the courtyards in the cave had been turned into ruins. The ground shook violently like an earthquake. The beautiful waterfall in the cave of the Star River Manor was no longer flowing water, but blood-red hot magma. Wherever the magma flowed, everything on the ground that could burn was set ablaze. Xiao Pingan didn't know what had happened, but the current situation told him that if he didn't leave the cave of the Star River Manor as soon as possible, he might be completely buried here. In the surrounding sky, several summoners were rapidly flying towards the entrance of the Star River Manor. Xiao Pingan also hurriedly rushed towards the entrance of the Star River Manor. Half of the entrance of the Star River Manor, which was unusually spacious and bright before, had already collapsed. If he didn't rush out now, the entire cave of the Star River Manor would collapse, and he would be buried alive. Previously, the Star River Manor had monopolized the cave with the most unique scenery in the undead city. But now, this cave was going to kill him. The sky suddenly turned dark. Xiaopingyan's heart pounded. F***CK. A huge boulder that was 5 or 6 times larger than a football field fell down from the top of the cave like a mountain. Along with the fall of this huge boulder, large and small stones fell down from the sky like raindrops. Xiaopingyan was like a sea swallow traversing through a storm and billowing waves. After passing through numerous rocks that were falling from above, he flew out of the cave where the Star River Manor was located with a whoosh before the rocks hit the ground. However, a summoner who fell behind Xiaopingyan was not so lucky. That summoner was only a few seconds late. Before he could fly out of the cave, his entire body was covered by a huge boulder that fell down like a mountain. No! That summoner let out a desperate but useless cry. He even summoned water shields on his body. However, under that terrifying force, he was like an ant under the collapse of a huge building. Without any resistance, he fell to the ground with the shadow of the huge boulder. Rumble! The ground of the entire cave was completely shattered. The lava flowing on the ground was smashed into huge waves that were hundreds of meters high. They turned into sparks and scattered in all directions. In the next few seconds, the cave of the Star River Manor had completely collapsed. This scene was really too terrifying. Xiaopingyan, who had flown out of the cave of the Star River Manor, was also shocked when he saw the undead city in the air. At this moment, the undead city was already in chaos. More than half of the buildings in the undead city had turned into ruins. A huge golden worm that was more than 300 to 400 meters long appeared in the center of the undead city like a huge leech. Below that huge worm was a huge cave that led to the underground. That strange worm was lying on the ground. Circles of energy waves were emitted from its body. The ground of the undead city began to shake violently. The buildings on the ground collapsed one by one. The ground around the huge worm turned into a lava lake. More and more lava was flowing, and the area of the lava lake was constantly expanding. Countless streams of lava spewed out of the ground of the undead city and drowned the undead city. A golden worm? A 9-sun realm worm? With just a glance at the strange insect, Xiaopingyan's heart suddenly tightened. Abyss Monarch. That's a level 9 worm king. Run, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.